Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens, Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode number 208. How you guys doing tonight? Hopefully you guys had a great Friday. I know I did. Got a great guest lined up for you guys. Sorry, I'm running late. It's completely my fault, all my fault, nobody's fault but my own. uh Operation Grow. Pete, how you doing tonight? Or
Uh,
this morning for you rather. How you doing this morning?
Well, I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, it's a bit of an early start to the day, but so be it, It's good to be here. Um, Hope everybody else out there is doing well. Having a look and seeing, hey, there's already people jumping in genetic memory farms. It's always good to see there's like a usual sort of group of people. Always nice. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good myself. They're probably all wondering what the heck, man. Talk about late starts, man. You're getting terrible at this.
Yeah, you get them hooked on the free, regularity of it to start with, and then it gets a bit tardy after time. Yeah, no, it's
Well,
actually
200, 208. I should have a little bit of leeway once in a while.
yeah, precisely. Um, but also, at least it just makes a slight change to be at the start of one of these shows. Um, as I was saying, usually I catch these at the end, which is always quite amusing. Um, to see where people are after 7 hours of a heavy session. It's like, oh, okay. I must say it's far more pleasant than if it was a 7 hour drinking session that you got onto the tail end of. You'd be like, that's not going to work. I'm going to leave now. It'll be a very miserable experience.
I don't know. It depends on which night you may turn into there. I mean, last night towards the end of hour seven, we were pretty crazy off topic.
Yeah, but you can sort of still follow it. The slurring isn't quite as bad. That's usually the problem. It's like, what did he just say? You've got to have drunk ears to be able to listen in. And if you haven't have got your 7 hours of training on, you're in trouble. Ah.
So what? Yeah, you told me you were smoking. Yeah, take one break before the show, as did I. What were you? What was your pleasure there? What'd you have to
Oh,
start your day
allegedly
with?
it was Golden Goat. Yeah, from Ari Genetics. Yeah, very nice. Cannot complain. I would
I've heard nothing
say
but good things.
yeah. In fact, season 3 of the Operation Grow show was um, already growing orange gasm, apart from one Tyler who grew golden goat, um, and the mystery grower uh, who grew one of each. Um, it was all Iri genetics, and everybody had really good yields of them. I should stop saying and I've gone through a few. My cousin Chip has grown a few of his and have all been really successful. I would highly recommend that as a seed breeder for anybody, from like beginner through to more experienced grower. I wouldn't say like expert, just experienced. Um, the orange gasm was definitely one that worked very well, and I think Tyler got like quite a good yield on it, like really good yield on it. Grown in cocoa with New Millennium nutrients in auto pot irrigation system. So yeah.
It's amazing how fast those genetics seem to spread. It seems like I heard a little bit about them, and then it was everywhere.
Mm, mm,
Everybody
mm.
was growing a little bit of Irie.
Yeah, no, I think he's doing very well for himself. He's put in a lot of effort. Um, he's really approachable. And that's one of the nice things about Jeff. He has the podcast and the show, and you can actually get in touch with him and you can ask him questions about it, and he's open and honest. Um, and that to me is, I guess, one of the really important things. I've been saying on the Operation Grow show, one of the ideas really is that we as consumers should become more educated and ask better questions. So when we're buying seeds and buying genetics, yeah, we should be really asking the right questions and not just taking their word for it. And people who hide behind stuff, it's like, don't have time for that. Yeah. I don't mind if you
I
don't want to come
agree.
out and put
That's
your
you
face
know
out,
what?
but communicate, answer questions.
Now you made me feel bad for not having my face out. Are you calling me out, Pete? Are you calling me out?
That logo reminds me of the Tony Hawk skateboard logo, Boneyards. It's really, yeah, that's that eagle with the chest, the rib cage. I don't know if you used to skate.
A little bit, but I'm not much of a skater. I used to ride more bikes.
Okay.
Not so handy with the board.
Yeah, that's already, it looks really Tony Hawk Boneyard skateboards.
I can believe that the artist that drew it, I grew some on Instagram, has a little bit of the skating background. So I could
Mm.
see that. I could definitely see that. Good eye.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, and they I see Aldridge saying he had that board, so yeah, okay, it wasn't just my stoner memory. Phew. For a brief moment. Like, did I get that
Uh,
right?
I suggest the same thing to people when buying seeds too. I try to tell them if you can hold off until like an event or something. And if you know that a good sized fence coming around and some reputable breeders are coming, hold off to
Mm,
them. That way you can go to the event, talk to the breeder themselves, find out what they're passionate about, kind of feel them out firsthand. Is the best way I've always. If you can buy genetics, Lord knows a lot of us can't, aren't in that position. But
mm.
I believe, if I can meet the man firsthand or the lady, uh, that's the way I like to buy.
Yeah, yeah. And that's part of what the Operation Grow show is about. That it's trying to that what the idea behind doing the stuff with IRE genetics and the orange gasm was really to say, okay, let's just take this from you buy a pack of seeds, you've now got your irrigation system, that you've also got your nutrients, and you just follow what it says on the bottle, what it breeder says, 63 to 70 days flowering cycle, and then one of them was like almost taken down on purpose at whatever it said on the back of the packet of the seeds. And the nutrient regime was followed, but you realize really quickly, like, nah, this is the lesson to the beginner. Don't just follow what it says on the bottle. You've got to read the plant at the same time. Just because it says at week 2 do this, if the plant's going like no, don't. It's a simple rule. But if you are a newbie, you probably just follow what it says on the bottle, um, religiously. And there you discovered that, the flowering cycle, yeah, it was definitely towards the longer end of what it was stated on the packet. But that's, it is a spread. Um, but wasn't one of those where they go 54 days and 80 days later you're still waiting. Yeah. And then they tell you, oh yeah, you got the outlier. Like, no shit. Got 10 of them.
Yeah, I always go a little heavier than what they say, anyways. I just prefer my cannabis a little bit to the amber side. I find that
Hmm.
if you harvest right to the clear, or right to the cloudy rather, with just a little bit of amber, you're screwing yourself out of some weight. And I'll go as far as to say almost 20%
Mhm.
by not letting it go full term and ripen up like it normally would.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it's a different experience as well. There's some that I know of, it's definitely, if you chop that down too early, have you not suffered from paranoia or anxiety before? Great. Have a couple of drags. You'll know all about it. Give it 5 minutes. That sort of fear weed that gets harvested way too early and becomes mildly problematic all of a sudden. Um, yeah, some of them do that. Some definitely have that effect. Um, But yeah, I mean, one of the things that came up in a conversation was, like this whole thing about naming of these strains where they give them these fruity flavor bakery names, and you go, all right, now if it doesn't smell and taste like the name, you shouldn't be calling it that. You really shouldn't. Uh, there's nothing more, and I don't know, maybe in the US it's more prevalent that they actually meet sort of like the name actually is close to what it smells like, but in Europe, nah, it all just smells like coffee shop weed most of the time. Yeah, there's a subtle difference, but I don't know. Maybe to me, it all just smells the same, predominantly. I've never smelled
Yeah,
strawberries or
well,
anything like that. It's like,
you guys can be pretty vague over there with your strain names. A lot of people that when I talk to about some older strains, it's like, what are you talking about? It was skunk. It was all skunk. Everything was skunk back then. you know, I'm like, no wonder there's the confusion right there because I've ordered from European seed banks before, skunk 1 through 100, trying to get that roadkill. I'm like, oh
it's
man.
like a wide list that's red or white. Do you want skunk or not skunk?
Right.
We're a seed bank. We've got choice. You can pick one of these two. Um, and then we're starting we're starting a seed breeding, not seed breeding, a plant breeding program on the Operation Grow Show as well, to actually say, all right, well, we talk about this a lot. Um, like why, selective breeding, the correct terminology and way to be doing it, I guess, as when I say the correct way, I mean from have a goal that you're actually trying to breed for. So you're specific, you're really selective in your traits that you're starting to pick, not just, oh, I'll see where it takes me. That's sort of like, okay. You need to have something that you're trying to track through the whole process. And to then show, this is actually how complicated it is. It's not something that you just do over a weekend. I expect that to run for, it's going to have to run for years to be genuine. It's going to have to run for like 5-6 years or so, to be able to really take the plants through, find out what, follow that trait, and then just show, why. And this is where it gets contentious. Why, at the end of the day, a pack of F1 seeds, if they would be what you would determined to be genuine F1s, are expensive, because all the effort's been put into the two parents, the parent line. That's where all the effort goes into. It's creating those two so that when you cross them, you get the magic, and that's your secret sauce. And so people get quite protective of that. You can't just randomly throw anything together and expect to get something. There's a bit more to it.
Really? So
Oddly
that'd
enough,
be
at the end of the day, all of these amazing ones are all just happy accidents. I mean, that's why they're cut only. You got to ask yourself, if it's only from cut, then okay, it wasn't deliberate.
man, I can appreciate a lot of that, but man, I don't know. We're over here just throwing F1s out like confetti. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're just, I don't believe they're that special over here with what we're doing, because too many people are just grabbing just BS and smacking it together. That effort that you're talking about of finding the true mom and dad of, good breeding, them people are far and few in between anymore. It seems like
mm.
anybody and everybody's smacking
And that's
stuff
why what you're
together.
smacking
Have
together,
fun.
but that's okay. See, this is where this is the contentious bit in terms of being able to, I guess, I don't want to say re-educate because it sounds terrible, but it's like the right words are being used, the right terms are being used, but they're just being used in slightly the wrong context. In that, just because you cross two things together doesn't make it necessarily an F1. It's the first cross, but it doesn't mean it's an F1 cross, if that makes sense. It's on its path. And technically, an F1 is from two stable lines that are brought together. And it's the first cross of those two stable lines that have ideally no genetic background that's common. So if you want to take something, so if you take like a Kush from the Afghan and you take something like Durban Poison, which is my old hometown, those two have never met each other before. I mean, they're distant relatives because they're both cannabis, but they're very, very distant relatives. So when you cross those two, you're unlikely to get any kind of weird, um, you know, sudden traits popping up that you weren't expecting. Their offspring would look pretty similar. There would be very little variation because the genotype is very similar. There isn't that much change there. And then when you take that F1 generation, which is almost kind of like a true F1 generation, you cross that into the F2s, that's when you start to see some interesting variation in terms of what you would maybe start to pick out for your feature selection or your trait selection if you wanted to start breeding it. But the idea really is you want to have these two parents that give you the F1 because that's got everything in it. You've bred the dad line to bring all of the traits you want from its side, and you've bred the mom line to bring all of the traits you want from that side. So every time you cross those two, you get that vigor from all the dominant traits from both sides. And it's taken you 10 years to get there. And that is why a packet of F1 seeds, genuine F1 seeds, will cost you a small fortune. And that's why it's, I hate to say it, but that's why the likes of Monsanto and these people protect it with their lives. I mean, it's a huge financial investment in producing this stuff. And you want to be able to protect it. If you want to get an idea of how far away from the F1 you actually are when you buy a packet of F1 regular seeds, let's say, cross them, plant out 1,000 if you've got the space to do it, and look at the ratio of different phenotypes you get. And unless the ratio is 1 to 2 to 1, you did not have F1 seeds to start with. And it's a very simple way of doing it.
Yeah. Most people will tell you around here, them F1s, you'll get, I don't know, 3, 4 phenos easy out of them F1s. I
Mm-mm.
mean, there's going to be no similarity around here. That everybody on this side will tell you that's where you're going to find the gems. We don't find no stability over here, according to our breeders, until like
Mm.
F3, F4. F4, I would say in our breeding over here, or this is at least if you have some ethics, you have stability over here at
But
four.
what you see
You
now, what
can
you've done
see
it.
things that are pretty clone like. They should have similar traits. You might get one or two females.
And what you have actually at that so when it comes to doing the breeding, what they've actually got at the F4 is they've stabilized out the trait that they're after. Um, but what you stabilize that trait at the expense of a whole bunch of others. They start to get weaker and weaker and weaker, and that's why you do this back cross to one of the original parents, and that's why you've always got to hold on to one of the all of the parents along the way that you're breeding with. You've got to keep all of them because at any point you realize that the trait that you were interested in has suddenly disappeared. You've got to figure out where did that stop. Okay, and I've got to go back and grab something from before that point and reintroduce it back into the mix, and that's your back crossing to start to bring that vigor of these other traits back in. So, and then eventually, so you get down to that F4 and you get that one trait, and then you say, all right, now I'm going to breed in using that. I'm going to start to breed in these other traits until I stack them up on top of each other. And then I've got this plant that I've now created. It's got all the traits stacked into it. And the downside with this plant is now it splits itself into male and female plants, which really just makes it difficult. Because pollen from a reversed, well, not a reversed, a self-sexed female is not true pollen. I mean, it's only female. It's only got half the code. You'll never get a male. You can't. It's not possible.
Man, good sir, I could actually hug you right through this screen. Seriously.
Um,
Seriously, man. It's very rarely I agree with somebody on the other side of genetics, and it's what I'd say. I if you go back and watch anything I've ever done when I talk about genetics, I'm beating this very same drum you are, and I'm very pissy about other people breeding strains and not putting. If you're gonna BX something and call it, well, I always for some reason go to sour diesel. If you're gonna BX something and call it sour diesel, it better say, this is Eagle's
yeah.
version of sour diesel or something. It shouldn't. You shouldn't
Well,
just be saying this is sour diesel. You know what I
if
mean? It's so messed
if you,
up around here. Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
yeah, I was
You're
just going to
talking
quickly
about.
say, if you want to, get into it, if you don't and you haven't already read it, um, this book by Robert Connell Clark, um, Marijuana Botany, it's a must read. It really is. It was. I think this is actually his master's thesis that he did on it. There is a bit heavy at times, but at the rest of it, it's really easy to follow. Really, and it just read through it a few times. It goes into explaining it really well. You can take it as deep as you want, but that is definitely a must read if you want to get into it. And then it really explains it, and you start to realize, oh, okay. So, and this is what I mean by I think it's just the problem was when people were talking about it. Hey, excellent. There you go. Um, we've had this catch where it was being spoken about. The people who were talking about it and using these phrases and terms assumed that everybody else around them understood the context and what they were being used. And unfortunately, they didn't. So then it slips into the general public parlance. And although we're talking about the same thing, we're missing it ever so slightly. And that suddenly results in these quite like standoffish discussions about what it actually is. And you're going like, pick up a dictionary and read what it says. There's a reason we have a language and it's defined. I mean, that's the whole nice thing about science, at least, is you try to clearly define it so it's universally understandable. There's no
That's what I've
ambiguity.
been saying a lot. Why can't we just stop, slow down, map out what we got before we move forward? Right now we live in this golden age with this tissue culture, to where
Mm,
I'm hoping that almost anybody that's breeding, when you have a project, you're tissue and culturing mom and pop of your main projects. That way, if something happens, like a subcool fire, whatever, you can go back and rebreed out them seeds. You can go back to the tissue culture, rebreed out mom and pop, and have exactly what you were putting out before. You don't even
mm.
have to go back to the pot. The very same. I'm very when I
You can
believe
use
when it's
grafting. I mean,
strength.
you can get really sneaky. If you've got limited plant count, um, you could actually graft each of the parents onto a single rootstock. You could have the family tree quite literally, and at any point you needed to go back, you just take a cut from whatever branch is that part of the family tree line, grow it out, flower it, and away you go. You've always got access to it, and you could actually have. Yeah, you could have the true family tree growing in the corner, and one plant 20 generations growing on it. It was perfectly doable. There's a challenge.
Uh, that's a good stuff.
And
That's
then
a
you sell it as like, there's the ultimate genetics tree, mate. If you let that thing just flower by itself and let it go, you have every cross imaginable that could be done in that line suddenly gets done for you.
So you don't think that through the plants feeding that things may get mixed slightly,
Mm.
not even a little bit? You don't think that chirps are passed through the soil and enzymes and stuff like that? None of that's
But then
possible.
that
You don't
happens when
think
I
that
feed it. So it depends. I could feed, that would happen if I just change what I'm feeding it.
you
I
don't
mean, it's
think
that
in
same
time.
effect. I don't think it's necessary. No, it's not so much the genetic makeup. No, I mean, its cells are dividing, and it's whatever in that cell that divides and spreads on, and it's genetic makeup. It doesn't take it's not. I mean, let's say never ever. I mean, yes, there is like a 0.01 whatever possibility that it could happen. But it's incredibly simple. I mean, people talk about it happening in hops, but then
You're
you got to
just
ask,
scratching.
is that just loose
Well,
cells that
really,
have managed to drift through, for instance? You know, it's like,
it's one of those things. Yeah, we could go on for hours on that. That's why I started to say it. I'm like, oh, I don't even know if I should go here because
you do it with
it's
lemon and lime trees. Those are quite cool to see. And it doesn't have a drift. Yeah, and those grow for 20, 30 years. Um, I've seen cherry trees with different colored blossoms done on them. Yeah.
I
I
guess again, to be biased, I would want to try one of the lemons and limes before grafting, and then 5 years down the road,
mm.
that's what it would actually take to sway me. you know,
Become a lemon and lime expert by the end of it. You know?
yeah.
um, but yeah, no, I don't think you'd get genetic drift. No, I mean, I don't. You get genetic mutation that will take place eventually. Anything that's left long enough, that starts to happen occasionally. Um, but yeah, no, I think it'd be perfectly stable. I mean, I don't think, we'd be around long enough to really notice that it happened. I think if it does, the plant will be dead before that happens. Um,
Well, then again, we're comparing two different things. Tree cycles and the way they move a lot shorter than the. I mean, we're pretty much comparing humans and dogs here. You know what I
hmm.
mean? You know, things move a lot quicker in cannabis than they do in a tree.
Yeah. I mean, the plant is it's got a shorter life cycle, but it lasts for very long as well. I mean, you can have a mom plant going for decades. I mean, if you consider then if you've been keeping a cut going, how old is that cut? Because every time you take a cut from the mom, and to make that a new mom, that's an old plant that you're taking a cut of. It's continuing to go on and on and on. It's
Oh,
not a
that's it.
new plant.
Oh,
Um,
that's an argument that goes on and on, and just like the cuts. There's the
mm,
people. Do you keep a mom or do you keep taking cuts from your cuts? Oh, there's drift there if you take cuts from a cuts from a cuts. The best way to keep your strain together genetically is to keep the mom. You know what I'm saying there?
yeah. I mean, the only risk you take is that. I mean, I would say you make a new mum every now and then from a cut, and you use that one for a while, and then you make a new one, and do it that way, because there is always the possibility that you hit one branch or something that just happens to have a mutation on it, and hence that suddenly becomes your genetic drift. Um, and the older it gets, I mean, just like us, the longer it's been around, it starts to get a little less accurate in its reproduction, cell reproduction. But it takes ages and ages for that to happen.
So I guess we can't have that conversation without wondering the conversation of being able to put that plant outside and restore it back. Do you any thoughts or belief in that?
I don't know if putting it outside makes any difference, other than you just let it go, and just leave it alone. Don't do anything to it. I mean, bear in mind, these
I mean,
plants' natural cycles are only meant to be, 1 year. They're not perennials. They're supposed to be annuals.
I can attest myself for putting strains outside that I think that have lost their vigor and maybe drifted a little bit. Put them outside in the full spectrum sun for a month or two, and then take cuts off that plant. And man, it
Hmm.
seems like I just took a plant. Like it's right back to where she was
But I
few
think you hit the
years.
nail on the head there. I mean, you stick it outside in the sunshine. I mean, if you put it in a greenhouse, well, just outside in that kind of sunshine, it probably just gives it everything it needs again from a light recipe. Um, I think what we lack is the UV spectrum is something that we just lack in the lighting that we use, and they get it quite a lot of it. And you never know, maybe that's like the magic bit of pixie dust that they need occasionally.
So with that being said, I can't help but wonder if we're losing some of our pizzazz and some of these strains through indoor breeders versus
I've been
outdoor
saying
breeders.
I've now been saying that people should be, really looking for if you've got bag seed pre like 95, that's going to be like gold dust. You got really, because that was all before Sensimedia became a thing. Um, this isn't, and I don't like to call it homemade weed. It isn't. It's just really sensitive to self-survival. It has a head trigger on shit. Things have gone wrong. I need to survive, and boom, let me do it. Um, but that was all open pollinated out in fields. So it's like heirloom landrace kind of weed, unadulterated genetics. That is your primary colors in your paint pot. Um, to quote, I think it was GMF who used that analogy. Um, and yeah, there's not enough people making the primary colors. Everybody's wanting to make all the fancy paintings, but at some point when those primary colors go, you can never get them back. They're gone forever.
True that, true that. And again, I can't wonder when we talk about outdoor colors. There's so much that goes into that as well. You know, uh, when you're outdoors, spectrum, temperature,
Mm-hmm.
pH, in my opinion. I mean, I've learned from people that grow ornamental flowers that you can change the color of hibiscus plants or flowers just by swinging the pH back and forth. You can affect the color of the flower. So
Yeah.
if you're outdoors and maybe your soil tweaks out mid-season because of conditions, do you think that could bring out color in the plant as well? That was unpredicted, not just
Yeah, I mean, suddenly,
temperature and spectrum.
yeah, it's about that phenotypic expression and exposing it to, its more some of the less natural environment, natural swings. We in indoor growing like to try and keep everything calm and steady and even. Um, and yeah, the crazy thing is outdoors, it's nothing like that. But what we all liked was stuff that was grown outdoors. That's what all got us into it potentially. Um, and then you also have to, when you're growing, remember that those seeds were produced and bred for the environment that the seed breeder had, not for your one at home. So that's also good to find out what they've got, because if they're saying this is the phenotype, you need to know how it was grown to be able to get that. Um, Sorry, my brain's drifting all over the place. That golden goat's still working.
Yeah, well, that brings up a chat question there. Light it up again. Tim wanted to know what was in that pen. You got some THC, or are
Oh
you
no, no,
puffing on some tobacco in there?
it's just nicotine in this one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I had two of those a little bit earlier. Still, I think it's RH45 and put out China eyes, but call it goat eyes. That's what these are. Um, yeah, so uh, what's everybody in chat up to? Da, da, da.
They're loving it. They're loving it. They're loving the conversation so far.
Nice, nice, nice.
So, and with that being said, and kind of reverting back to the skunks a little bit, me and Genetic Memory Farms there were talking the other night. I'm pretty sure it was him about the old skunks there, and maybe it was a combination of the two. bad breeding indoors, and that strain in particularly was a got skunky outdoors. Then we attempted it to bring it indoors, and then the environment totally changed. It didn't need the skunk smell anymore to do protect itself against predators, animals, and whatnot. So it just stopped coming out. Maybe that's why
Mm.
we aren't able to find it anymore.
Yeah,
And
and I mean,
so
exactly.
maybe the combination of loss of environment,
Mhm.
bad breeding, and people just eradicating it from indoors because of the smell, and it just losing its way for the people that did manage to keep it.
I mean, occasionally you get that one that smells like roadkill that comes past, like, whoa. That but that's very rare, and I'm not necessarily, but not always the biggest fan of those ones. I like Durban Poison. Um, to me, that's the. I was with something we were talking about. Do you find that your taste is your palate is a consequence of what you were brought up on? What did you start smoking? What was what you were brought up with, and therefore that's actually kind of where your palate heads. And not a big fan of like these heavy earthy flavors necessarily. Um, I think the concentrates are nice. I mean, that was fun in Colorado at the Indo Expo at the start of the year. Wow, it seems like a lifetime away. Sitting down with Frosty and Pedro, that stuff that Pedro produces is just amazing. Pedro's grow room. Wow. That was really, really nice. And I must say, that's where you can really get that terp flavor profile. It really stands out across them. I definitely notice it more there.
So man, we blew right through where we were supposed to start there, Pete. I mean, we just jumped right in. So let's back up a little bit, my friend. Let's back up a little bit. Jeez. Jumped in. I know I was late, but we got to start the conversation like, appropriate. You know what I mean? Jump in an hour into the conversation and all. Yeah, well, that was an hour ago. So, when did you find yourself messing around with this plant? I mean, when did cannabis enter your life?
Um, I mean, the first time I smoked weed, I definitely was probably with. Trying to think, how old was I? 15 or so. Some Afghan hash over here in the UK, oddly enough, because I just moved to here from South Africa, from Durban. Um, so the first experience was over here, and then moving back to South Africa, and then of course you're sort of living in quite a nice location. Um, And there, it's just like Durban Poison's just local bushweed. It's nothing particular. Nobody makes a big deal of it. It's what's local, and you've got quite a few like indigenous local strains. Durban Poison just happens to be one of them. You've got Transkei Reds, which are a bit further south, um, and there's slightly different strains as you move further north. But yeah, that was certainly like the big introduction. Cost nothing as well. That was the other advantage. You don't want to turn up with $50. Let's put it that way. You don't have enough space in your car to take it away. Um, so yeah, and growing it over there is a case of throw it over your shoulder and come back in 6 months. It grows wild. So it was never. While I was there as well, it was illegal. South Africa, of course, now has an interesting policy on it, in that it's legal to smoke and consume it at home and grow it at home on your personal premises, but you can't sell it, trade it, etc. But prior to that, it was very illegal. You didn't want to get caught with it. You could wind up in all sorts of trouble for that. So yeah, then moved over, and it's yeah, playing with it ever since, really. It's been over 20 plus years.
20 glorious years, I'd like to say. 20
Oh, hell yeah.
glorious years.
I must say, the toll is a lot less than if you were drinking. Yeah. If you were to drink it like to the same, like you would enjoy smoking it, yeah, you'd be ruined.
So was it always like a recreational thing, or did you notice like a medicinal value to it, or what has there been a transition?
I think yeah, as I've gotten older, it's become like, oh, that helps for these aches and pains. That's for sure. Um, and more from like the edible and the balm side of it. I found for getting my leg tattooed, putting on the balm, couple, 2-3 hours beforehand has made the healing time in under a week done, and then also use it afterwards as the post tattoo treatment. That's where I've noticed it really works incredibly well. Um, and one of the tattooists at the parlor there got eczema, and I gave him some of the balm I'd made, and he said, Jesus, just clears it up. He wants more. It's like, all right, cool. I found something I can barter with. I mean, my tattooist, I barter. I make knives and things like that as well, and I barter ink for knives. So that works out well.
I I like you more and more as we speak, Pete.
But yeah, that's the
Quite
that's
seriously, my friend. Quite seriously. I mean, so we've got cannabis, we've got you know the want keep genetics straight, ink, and bartering system, and
yeah.
then knives.
Yeah, that was a hobby that got started. Well, a little thing got started. I mean, that started from just watching that Forged in Fire and going, that looks interesting. Let's give it a go. I don't have a forge. I just do blank stock removal, and then heat treat and do, make yeah, it's all down to the grinding and getting the handles. The handles take forever to get right. It's like that annoying thing. Um, and I do like
But the
fly fishing
handle is
rods.
one of the selling points.
Yeah, but it's oddly really difficult to do. There are rules to doing it, but you start with it, and you shave a little bit too much off one side. It's like, okay, correct this on the other side, and eventually this handles down to this thin little. It looks like a doctor's spatula. The actual blade's thicker than the handle. um,
Yeah, well, I have to again, man. I have to agree with you. Tattoos and cannabis, namely, I I'm appreciating the balm tip because I usually have balms laying around, but I don't usually put them on prior because I've always had reservations against putting on something and then the guy beating it into my skin. You
well,
know what I mean? Almost like it voiding the warranty, if you will. What? It didn't stick? It lightened? What'd you put on your skin beforehand? Oh, you put that. Oh, no wonder. You know, that type of deal.
yeah. No, what I found I did is so yeah, it's about 3 hours before I put on. I mean, it's quite potent balm. Put that on because it also helps with the pain. I mean, kind of you can feel it's gone a bit numb. I mean, you're inked up as well. I mean, it's like I don't need to feel the pain anymore, mate. It's like I get it. I've done the ritual. Let's move on. Let's just get this artwork done now. um, and so it's that. And then hot water. As you know, you've got to shave the leg beforehand anyway. Rinse it down so the pores are all open, get it in, soaks in really well, and then
Your
just
guy
wash
get
it all
mad?
off.
Your, your guy get mad when if you wash or you shave? You shave? Not let him shave?
Yeah, no. My guy will say, "Why haven't you shaved your leg,
Like,
mate? What's wrong with you?"
see, I do it, but again, almost every tattoo guy I've ever dealt with over here gets a little pissy about that. You know, they're like,
Oh yeah, no,
it's
my
gonna
guy's
be,
cool. Yeah. And then just make. I'll let that just sit on it for up until about an hour before I go, and then I just wash it all off. Give it a good wash before I go, so there's no residue or anything. And I did know, and even he said after the first time, I didn't mention I'd done it, and he went, "Yeah." After we finished, I said, "Oh, this is what I'd done," and he went, "I noticed that you weren't reacting to, what are known as like quite painful points. You weren't really noticing it." Um, like
Given
this bit
what you're
here on the
seeing
foot,
sequence.
just on your just there on the foot, or across the tendons. Woo! You're like, hello, I remember that.
I, I'm down that far myself, brother. I'm down to my toes.
Yeah,
I'm most certainly down to my tippy toes.
I've got a lizard on the top of my foot. And when I went in to get that done, I said to the guy, "Oh yeah, let's start with the tail, which starts up on my calf and then goes down over onto the foot." And he went, "No, no, 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 no. We're going to start in your foot and work up towards the tail because you're not going to be in a mind for me to touch your foot 2 hours in." He's like, and he was right. Um, it was quite an interesting experience. And then you go back and you have to
Yeah.
get it recolored, and it's like, oh, yeah, come
I've
back in
had
2
my right
weeks.
foot done twice.
Mm,
They had it done once, and then my current guy went over it and sweetened it right up.
yeah,
Sweetened it right up.
the current tattooist is like, "Oh, we need to refresh that one on your foot," and I'm like, "No, we don't. It's quite okay. That was one unless you've got morphine or something that can knock me out. We're not touching that. It's quite okay."
Pretty bad about that. I am like terrible about that. Getting my tattoos, and I'm willing to pay. I'm not blaming any artist or nothing, but if they fade and whatever, because whatever, I'm I'm getting them redone. I'm getting them redone. I've had a couple of them redone 3 and 4 times to bring them
Okay.
back. High sun areas, forearms,
Mm.
shit like that. Oh yeah. If I'm attached to it, I'll have it touched up.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely
I'm,
fade less living here in the UK than they do if you're living in South Africa in the sunshine. Oh, for sure. You don't have enough sunshine over here to really impact your tattoos. And then, of course,
I
my
think
eldest daughter, went off, and as soon as she turned 18, boom, tattoo. And the first one's like a big one on the back of her leg. And because I've always said, go big or go home. There's no point in getting small tattoos and people having to go, "What the fuck is that?" You know, make it clear. Make a statement. And custom pieces. And she'd spent her time searching out the artist, not just using the local one in the village. She goes, "This is the style I'm interested in. Go and find the artist that does that style." Same for your genetics. This is what I'm interested in. Go and find the seed breeder, that's the plant breeder that's doing that. Researches them up and then goes and gets the ink done. And I always find it funny, like her mate's like, "Oh God, what are your parents going to say?" And she's like, "What do you mean? What are my parents going to say?" It's like, "You see my dad's legs." They find it strange that my legs getting filled in because they've always known since they were tiny it was just the outline work. It's only in the last few years that I found the guy to be able to continue filling it all in, and they think it's really strange to see it like colored in now. They're like, "Wow, okay, that's odd." As kids, I used to just give them markers and they used to sit there and treat it like it was a coloring in book and just color in between the lines. uh, when we used to go
that's
clubbing
pretty
back in the
awesome.
day, I used to use um, glow in the dark ink and fill it in with glow in the dark ink so that it would be, as soon as you walked in under UV light, it would suddenly light up. Yeah, the shit we used to do.
They have it. I don't know if I'd pound it in my skin,
Oh, no,
but
no,
they
no, I wouldn't
have
put it
it.
in my skin. Seen some guys with
Yeah,
faces done. It's like, wow, that's brave.
yeah. I've seen like fluorescent eyeball tattoos. That. I can't do
Oh,
it.
no, no, no,
I'll
no.
draw the line right there.
It's like some of those full body Japanese pieces. You're like, wow, man, that's impressive. I'd like to get hand tattooed. Japanese hands, I forget what they call it now, the technique, but that's one I'd like to try out. Apparently it hurts a lot less. It's just not as aggressive on the skin, and the healing is a lot quicker as well.
I can see that.
Because
The
that
back of the
tattoo
hands
needles.
aren't usually so bad. It's usually the bottoms that give out.
I've only known one guy who had the palm of his hand tattooed, and he said they had to hit me with some ketamine. It's the only way I got through it, and then it faded as well. I mean, I would never do that. The skin just doesn't hold properly.
I feel better in saying this because I doubt the kid that I've seen get tattooed today is going to be watching this. So, it's first tat. It's first tat, and it's like an arm tat, a forearm. And I sat there and I watched kid. He did good from sitting there, parlor full of guys full covered in tattoos. He had that quiver in the jaw going, and he's sitting there talking about getting that palm done. And I've got about every trouble area, most of them done. And he said, I'm like telling him, I'm like, you don't want to mess around with that palm, kid. Oh yeah, I want this. And he shows me the design, and I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. You just barely sat through that outline. Yeah, tell me about that palm tattoo you want.
Before he does the palm, do the inside of your elbow, mate. I tell you what, go for the armpit and the inside of the elbow, and then tell me if you're prepared to do the palm of your hand. Or the sole of your feet.
I can't tell you. I can't. Oh yeah, I haven't been to the sole of my feet, but I can tell you that's probably pretty tender. I've kind of always wanted to do like a toe tag that was something draped down on the bottom of my foot, but I know it's gonna hurt. I sat through a lot of painful shit, and I know that's gonna hurt. This is the piece I had today. If we could see this. Ah, shit. I got to turn off the background. I think. Or stand in front of it. Probably be easier. There we go. Can you see that?
Yeah.
That's the back of my leg and in the ditch, back of the ditch.
Oh.
That's what I had done today. Yeah.
Mine's sort of coming up on the back of my. Yeah, it
goes
just
right
starts
up
to creep up the back
butt
of my
cheek.
knee. Oh.
Just almost to the. I'm sitting on that fresh tent right now. That's what I'm sitting there. That's one of the reasons I was kind of cameraing off a little bit in the beginning. I was still kind of sitting there feeling that burn a little bit. I had to smoke one and chief it all the way down to kind of get comfortable to get out of there.
I'm just trying to see if I could find a picture of. Oh, damn it! I've got recent pictures of mine somewhere. If I can remember.
But you gave away some great advice about the balm. For me, the balm's genius, by the way, but I utilize a lot of CBD or RSO. If I get myself on some RSO, I have weared out some tattoo guys. Their time, a lot, and they're like, man, my back, my neck, I can't take no more. And I'm like sleeping through that rib tattoo on a good dose of RSO.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely tried it on different states. He
always tells people too, this guy sits like a rock, and I'm thinking, wink, it's RSO. Yeah.
Do you even RSO? only a tattoo patient knows the feeling, RSO, or doesn't experience the feeling.
Yeah. And I believe, like you said, though, man, that pre-game with the CBD and the RSO there speeds the healing up incredibly. Even my guy there has noticed that. He's like, man, you heal up good and quick. He ain't never got to touch up my stuff. And I think I've attributed that to it the whole time. It's the cannabis in my system, speeding it all up.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely noticed that it's really quick, and you don't get any. Like this last one, I got hardly any even flaking of the skin. I mean, like no scabbing at all. and it was just like it being sunburnt. You know, the way your skin peels after a sunburn. That's all that happened on the last one on some of the bigger areas. And this time round, when I treated it a bit more intensely beforehand, I didn't even have that. I mean, I barely noticed that. The most
That's
annoying
a
thing
good
is just that
tattoo
itch when the
artist.
hair starts to grow back. It's like, ah, gotta scratch. So they're just slapping your leg, like, oh, make it go away.
That's what I was telling the kid today. I was like, because I've seen the tattoo guy. I don't know if it's something he likes to do. If he don't like, I don't know, care for the person. You know what I mean? But I have seen him. He's got me once, so I know it. Maybe not. Maybe it's just something he likes to do. Give that tattoo a fresh slap right before. There you go. And he didn't. He even told the kid, "Man, I forgot to slap it." He's like, "Kid, look at me." He's like, I'm like, by the way, that's a good tip. When that thing starts to itch, you better
Yes.
get to whacking on that thing because that's gonna be your friend. You know, you're gonna want to itch that thing. You're
The
gonna want to
last thing you want to
slap
do
it.
is scratch it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not unless you want to be going back and having it filled back in again. Um, yeah, my brother got a big
But in
chest
the
piece done in Vietnam,
same
which is where he
aspect,
lives.
I've
Yeah.
been caught slapping myself awkwardly in public before, and the fucking people don't know what's going on there. Just an itch, you can't even fight. You're just whack. They're like, what the is that guy doing?
Going, oh, it's one of those weird religious people there with that self-flagellation or whatever it is.
That look of relief too afterwards. You're like, oh, it hurt, but it hurt so good.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Um, and they're addictive, man. They really are. Uh, yeah, if you want to understand it, be careful when you get into tattoos. um,
I don't think people realize. So you got some pretty big pieces too. It sounds like, huh?
well, the biggest piece is the lower leg that's being worked on. Yeah, and I've got a bit on my arm, like the very first one, which it's typical kind of 18-year-old or 20-year-old tattoo sort of thing. And then I hid it from my parents for ages, dude. I got my when I got my leg first got my leg done. This was in Durban. My father came back over from England. It's in the middle of summer. We go to a friend's place, and I'm like, shit, I've just had this tattoo done. I can't let my dad see, but we're going to this friend's place, and there's a swimming pool and everything, and I'm wearing jeans, and it's like 34 degrees Celsius, 80% humidity. You're like, it's come on. I bought a spare pair of swimming trunks. Do you want to borrow them? We could go jump in the pool. No, no, it's quite okay. It's like, God, it's so hot. Why are you wearing jeans? No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I suffered that day. Oh man, all I wanted to do is jump in the pool, but you can't anyway. You just had a tattoo done, just to cool off. I was like, and then eventually the day came, and you're like, fuck this. Answer the door in a pair of shorts, and you can see the eyes. Like, oops. uh,
Yeah, that'd be pretty tough to hide for a long period of time, especially from your mother.
oh, we were living in different continents. It made it easier, apart from this, like, oh shit, you're turning up. Oh bollocks. uh,
I had something similar kind of happen like that. It was like I'd gotten tatted, pretty well tatted, and then my father passed away, and went to the. It'd been some time, and it ended up being like a double funeral, and I had like a moral dilemma because it was like 85 that day, and it was outside. Uh, I'm like, man, how did you not want to wear pants? But I don't want to be the center of attention. You know what I mean when I walk up.
yeah.
So against my better judgment, I did go with the pants, and then I see some other family members that I and jumped in way deeper than I mean, up to their neck. I'm like, I'm just like sweating balls. And I'm like, oh man, why do I eat? Why did I even concern it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
And
that's what you're realizing as you're walking up in the shorts that you know, at the time comedic zombie tattoo of the recently deceased isn't such a good idea to now have on the back of your leg as you approach the like, yeah, it was funny 10 years ago. I didn't picture this happening. Remember, tattoos are permanent. Think ahead.
I can see mine being. I've got some messed up stuff on my legs too. I mean, if I were to bend over, it would probably be the chick flipping you off, and it says like "fuck you" across her hat. So yeah, I can see that being a little bit awkward there. Yeah, from staring at that situation. I am addicted though, man. I don't know what it is, man. I try not to tell him, but I have told him. I'm like, man, you should get like psychiatrist fees because there's times where I went in there just like, okay, what's going on, and he's just got like an earful. But nowadays, I think we just dump on each other.
Yeah, it's a
really. Don't worry
really
about this one. This one was free. My story was heavier than yours.
but it's definitely a when you keep going back, it's an intimate relationship that you actually have with that person. I mean, understand they're sitting there and they're permanently marking you, and you've put all of that faith and trust in them. I mean, it's a hell of a degree, and especially when you're going in for big pieces. Listen, I'm not talking about when you walk in and get a bit of flash art off the wall. That's you don't have a connection with the tattoo artist. But when you're going in 6-hour sessions and you've done 10 of them, at that point, yeah, you kind of know each
health
other.
checks. I almost do health checks when I go in for like the pieces or looking at them, How you doing? Been doctor physical lately? You gonna be around to finish this thing? You masking it? Are you masking it? Huh?
And that was what surprised me about how long it took tattoo studios to open here. I actually expected them to open up like long before the hairdressers. I mean, these guys are trained in how to deal with blood pathogens, HIV. They do piercings. Everything is sterilized. Every time you step up, booth is wiped down, sterilized, all the equipment sterilized. They tend to wear masks the whole time anyway because they're breathing over an open wound. So, it was really strange to watch how long it took them to open up compared to, like the hairdresser. Like, come on, man. Like everybody just invest in a pair of clippers, man. Fucking hairdresser.
I'm like a once a monther too. I'm usually like in there like once a month, and it was killing me when I couldn't. And I'm like, I've got a crazy background a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Hustled my days through.
Yeah.
I tried to hustle with my tattoo guy. I am shitting you not. I'm like, come on, man. You are a tattoo. There has got to be a little bit of outlaw there somewhere. Somewhere. Come on, man. Get me in. Hats off to him. He would not break the rule, man. He's like, man, I can't. This is my license. I'm like, I get it. I thought we were friends. What about all them long sessions?
Don't let me release those tapes. One with you crying like a little girl over your cat that died 20 years ago. That'll be the one. Yeah. Hey, there's another South African in the house I see in chat. Teeny 101 from Joburg. Oh, well, shame. Someone has to be. Haha. I'm from Durban. There's a rivalry. So it's okay. I mean, my kids love my eldest daughter. She's one who does it all the time. She goes, oh, I'm the child of African immigrants, which is technically true. Over here.
So when did you actually start cultivating the plant? When did you start to grow? And how?
Yeah, shit. It's pushing close to say 19, 20 years or so. And it started with like
Hell
a couple,
yeah.
going back with I guess it was autos and CFL bulbs. Tiny little thing just to one. I mean, actually, no. The first couple was some bag of seed grown in the back garden. Actually, got the neighbor to water it while we went away, and it was like a 12-foot fucking Christmas tree, man, in Prohibition land, and they go to the old couple next door who had no idea what it was and say, hey, going away for a week. Do you mind popping over every other day, just putting 2 liters of water into that for me, please? Oh, sure. Quite happy to do it. Yeah, and then you don't, allegedly over here, my cousin Chip, was saying that you don't have enough really of an outdoor season to do it. So you've got to then really look at doing it indoors, unless you're going to use autos, I guess. And then there was a little box and CFL bulbs, and yeah, kind of tinkered and played with it from there. Certainly,
Like to glad to hear you had a better experience with the autos than I ever did. My first pops with them autos were like fizzle, like a little firecracker that did nothing. Lit that fuse, and it was like, oh man.
I don't know, and it was trying to remember, just Royal Queen seeds. I think it was their dwarf Kush or something like that. It did stay small. I mean, it only grew to about a foot and a half tall, but it was just like 6 big buds. Was really, really nice. I would say if you do, when you're looking into autogenetics, look over into the European space. They've been playing around with it for a lot longer, I think. So yeah, they've definitely been using it. There's not the same kind of stigma because over here, if you want to grow outdoors in this northern climate, we're quite a bit further north than you guys are. We're kind of up by Canada. It's sort of actually the climate. So if you want to have enough time in the year to be able to harvest outdoors, you have to go down the auto route, really. And so I think they've just been doing it for quite some time. As I said, there isn't really that kind of stigma.
Well, my buddy up in Canada, Boom Farms, man, he changed my mind on the autos. And his crop this year was pretty nice, in my opinion, man. 7-footers, pretty easy outdoors, man. That's a good plan.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
good
yeah.
plan. How do you scoff at that?
And again, if you've done that selective breeding, where what you're only trying to catch out of it is, I just want to get rid of the photo period. Well, the short day gene is what I'm trying to get rid of. So it's a maturity thing. All of a sudden, it'll just flower when it hits a maturity. Because that's the two kind of classifications of the plants. And generally speaking, it's short day, which is your photo period plants, and which it doesn't care. It's when the plant hits maturity, it just starts to flower. Like chilies, examples of those. But yeah, and that's what's happening now. You've got these breeding programs where they've been able to slice that bit out, and then just bring everything from what's typically the photo period plants. In terms of the potency and all of that, bring that across. So you can have your whatever, it just flowers and you can get three crops a year all of a sudden, which is what the commercial guys are going to be interested in. And they don't want stuff that seeds, they don't mind. The commercial farmers, when this goes really big and goes into, the true commercial side of it, they want to buy 10,000 pounds of seed in terms of weight, and they want to go and throw that across, 60 hectares, and they want it all to be the same, and they don't want to have any pollination, and they'll buy it from you again and again and again because they don't want the hassle. You're not telling that farmer, all right, mate, plant out a hectare, pheno hunt it, then take cuts to do another 23 hectares. It's going to go, you know what? Fuck off.
Well, I think there's a lot to be said about taproot vigor too. I don't know how you playing outdoors or you see it over there, but man, seeing that taproot go down and establish itself, from what I've seen, it give more a vigorous, bigger plant,
Hmm.
more stable. Is
It
what
can,
I've seen across the board.
yeah, I guess it's definitely one of those things where it realizes that it can support itself better. I mean, any tree that sinks a deep taproot, high winds, it can hold more. It certainly has some better resistance, and gets it down a bit further, pulls up some extra nutrients from lower down. That's why, talking about stuff like comfrey, planting comfrey and using comfrey as a green manure additive or making comfrey tea. What's really good about it is, especially if you grow it outdoors, the taproot on comfrey goes down many feet, like sometimes get like 9 feet down. It's difficult to get rid of that shit once it's established. And the advantage of that is it's pulling up all these macronutrients from really low down, so it reconditions the soil higher up. But then it's all in the plant as well. So when you chop the leaves and use it as this green manure, comfrey is incredibly good for that. It's a really good all-rounder. And making comfrey tea, not for you to drink, but obviously, it's a composting tea. Um, that's really powerful, really potent, and good for the whole cycle, all the way veg, flour, the whole thing. Um, yeah, those are really good.
Genetic Memory Farms would like to know your first trip and your best trip. I feel like this was a setup.
My best trip.
Your first trip, your best trip. I believe that might be, if I'm reading that correctly, I thinking that might be a psychedelic trip. Maybe I don't know. Could be,
First
maybe
time dropping acid,
reading
was it university?
reading between some lines there. Maybe
First time dropping acid was at university, and the very first one was the flying key. Mate turned up and went, "Hey, I've got these. You want to try them out?" And he'd done them before. We're like, "Yeah, cool, let's go." Boom. And oh yeah, that was mooching around Portsmouth in the south. It's a naval town and student college town, so I think on the coast, south coast of England. Um, yeah, that was the start of a woohoo. I've just discovered something I enjoy. Psychedelics. Hmm. Yeah, psychonaut it up and go and have some fun. And that just, yeah, I would say didn't so much earn the university career. I don't think I was ever that really into it, but certainly went like, oh yeah, I've got spare time. Let's go on an adventure. And then one of the most interesting ones was in South Africa at a game reserve where they don't have any big cats, so you can walk around. You don't want to be walking around when there's lions and shit and leopards because you're just on the menu and you're really on the menu. Um, you got the campsite to yourself, so you can walk around this place. And we bought some acid, and they were called Heidi's. And what I thought was strange when I bought them is that they were blue on both sides. It's like, that's odd. It's usually only printed on one side, but so be it. And on the day we're going to take it, myself, my other half, friend Dave, and his other half, and like, so she goes, "Oh, I just want a half a trip." So I go, "All right, here we go." Give her half. My friend Dave goes, "Well, I'll have one." Give him one. Uh, Sarah says, "I'll have one as well," or something, and one. And then what I notice is like, so there's two and a half left, and as I squeeze it, it goes pop. It's like, oh, hang on. Guys, that wasn't printed on both sides. Just a heads up. You've all doubled up. And I went, oh, fuck it. Just take the lot. And that was the most hilarious day out in the wild. At one point, there was four of us sitting on rocks in the river, trying to look at a contour map with my mate going, hey, where are we on the map? And which is, contour map with all those lines. I'm like, are you serious? And some other family, with a young family, comes walking past to see 4 adults giggling insanely on these rocks in the middle of a river. I was just thinking, what the fuck is going on? That was definitely one of the best. But yeah, outdoors, I mean, that was the nice thing about being in South Africa. And you guys get it over there as well. You got big outdoor space. Best place to go and take acid or mushrooms.
Agreed. Agreed. Some of my better trips have been outdoors for sure.
Mm.
I had some good ones all the way around, indoors, outdoors. But
The ones first thing in the
some of the better
morning.
ones outdoors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drop, 1,000 mics at about, an hour before sunrise. I like it during the day. It's far more vivid and colorful. And then go and bumble through the forest, get lost. I realize you've only been going around the back garden.
I like to sometimes like just take some and take in a book. I did it yesterday. Got up there in the morning, took, I'm going to say it was more than a micro, a little heavier than micro, and listened to that Thus Spoke the Plan. I knew it was going to be a little bit out there anyway, and it helped, drew me right in. I knew I was going to enjoy it anyway, but when she talked about drinking the teas and seeing the bear out of nowhere and all that good stuff, I was like, oh, I'm feeling this story. I'm feeling this story right now.
There's definitely something to that microdosing for sure. I'm actually quite a big advocate of it. I think it definitely helps for mental health. Different theories as to what the sequence of events should be. 3 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on, 2 days off kind of cycle. Or I think I did it for about a month solid, and definitely noticed at the end of that was like, yeah, everything's been kind of reset to where it needed to go, which was good. Definitely certainly cheaper than any fucking psychiatrist, and certainly safer than any bloody prescription medication that they'll throw you on. And thankfully, we're starting to see that it's starting to make a resurgence into being used as a treatment, which is good.
One city here in Michigan, just one city, has allowed its legality for medical use. Lansing, or Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor did here in Michigan.
Nice.
One step at a time.
Yeah. Small victories. Yeah, chip away at it. Eventually, it all comes crumbling down. And it's like all this stuff. It's anecdotal evidence that eventually leads to it becoming. Although this, in terms of psychedelics for mental well-being, and I think the anecdotal evidence almost came after the scientific evidence, because they knew about it a long time ago, and it just got made illegal, which is really sad. I mean, psychiatrists have been banging on about it for years and years and years, that removing these from their ability to continue the research into their treatment potential, really crippled and set back that whole field.
That's another good one I like too. Another heavy, not too heavy. Alan Watts. Listened to some Alan Watts for like an hour or two, right when it starts to get good. I mean, just like kick your feet up and have one roll where you just like.
Well, once you walk away from it, okay, like, hang on, question myself.
Wait a minute. Sometimes you even got to pause it for a second. Like, wait a minute. Wait. All right, I'm back.
No, really good, man. Really good. Sure. Well, I tell you what, dude. I mean, I don't want to. I'm just looking at the time, hour and a half. Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just. I don't want to. I know what time it is for you over there. It's ridiculous. I mean, I find it amusing on these shows. I jump on at my time, and it's like, what do you people do for a living? Do none of you sleep? You know? Yeah, it's like you're up
I
till
get
like
that a
7
lot.
a.m.
I get that a lot.
Yeah, seeing people up till 7 a.m. their time, and it's like, wow, okay, I remember those days.
It's just a cycle I've been stuck in for years, man. I unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, I'm a full time caregiver, so this is my schedule.
Yeah, so
It's
that
better
works for
to
you.
run at night, and
Mm.
unfortunately, I have daytime responsibilities too, and so I run on usually about 5 hours sleep a day.
Mm.
That's it.
Mm.
So even like when I catch some of you guys' chats over there, I always get that. They're like, "Do you sleep?" I'm like, "Yeah, you just missed it." It was like right after my show for 4 solid hours, and bam, I'm back.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
how hard is it to believe that I don't pass out after sitting here smoking weed for 5 hours on camera?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Bed seems to be the next step.
Yeah, you're just really hoping that you manage to switch the camera off just in time. You know? Whereas there's that another 4 hours of video feed of you with your finger just about to kill it. Passed out. Uh,
All I can say is, man, I don't know. I was talking about 420 today, but I'm still not. I'm still on the fence about how I feel about it actually being aired or not, if it ever were to get aired. Because man, at the end of the 420 there, I was fucking rough. I mean,
yeah.
I went from almost 26 hours plus. Uh, I took roughly a half hour off live on the air smoking cannabis. I went 2 hours on the Michigan Bros Grow Show Sunday 419. Took a half hour break and then came on at 11:30 419 and then streamed and smoked weed and had guests on until 11:30 420.
Oh.
And at the end, 420, at the approaching that 11 o'clock hour, I was wrecked. I'm serious. I was eating habanero hot sauce, spraggly, again, almost doing the tattoo slap off my hair. Whack! The close, I came real close to falling out one time. And I remember, I was like, and I remember hearing sequence three go, there he goes. And it was like fighting words. I'm out. I'm still here. I was just rolling one. So
Just checking the back of my eyelids. It's fine. They're still there. Everything's good.
It broke It broke few YouTube rules. So
yeah, man. I wish I
they
would
let
ease
it
up on the
sit
music.
in processing for like a month, and then I'd see I didn't even get a fucking email or nothing. I just see in my account as I'm scrolling through my videos. Yeah, this will never happen. And I'm like, what? Your file was too big and it was too long. I did learn a lesson. Next year, I just got to break it up.
Yeah.
They say 12 hours or less or
Mm.
128 gigs. So next year,
Jesus.
I'm just busting it up. Just gonna bust it up into a few sessions. Get up and actually go pee.
Yeah,
Get up
yeah,
and
yeah.
actually go pee. Get some
You just do
water.
them as like
Stretch.
six. You could do like 6 4-hour segments, and then you just have a break, quick little break, interlude. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's ridiculous. Actually,
Maybe.
think about it.
Hopefully, you can get in on this year's.
Yeah,
Get in on
yeah,
this
yeah,
year's
yeah.
420, man.
No, no, absolutely. I mean, They celebrate it over here as well. You know, they do the whole thing. They all go up to Hyde Park, which obviously they didn't do this year. At least I don't think they did. I hope they didn't. That'd just be irresponsible. But yeah, no. They usually go to Hyde Park and everybody smokes it up in Hyde Park on the day.
We'll totally schedule it for a time that's convenient for you.
Well, if it runs for 24 hours, it works well. Pick a slot.
Yeah. Yeah, I swear, you know, the host won't make you wait, get up at like 4:30, and then just like make you wait for an hour or so. What?
I wasn't going to mention it.
Oh, that don't carry over. Yeah, you doing the Eagle show? They fuck you over for an hour or two? Huh? Treat you like you like who the fuck are you? Huh? Right? I don't know.
Oh yeah. Did he drop that? Did he drop that whole "I'm getting a tattoo" bullshit with you? I think that's an old photo. He just keeps re-showing. I did a screen grab. Compare it.
It's probably still gushing blood if I stood up. It's probably still juicing.
It's where they go back too. Oh, and it's the white highlights. That's the bit that you dread because it always goes on last, and that's when they go back to the bit they were hitting 2 hours ago, and they go, "Oh yes, this nice welted piece of skin. Let's just touch it up a little bit." You're like, "Mate, see what? I'm gonna have your
it wasn't
balls in my hand. You'll know when it hurts."
It was questionably ready. It was questionably ready. Because, like I said, he had put, you know, we started like 10 days ago. 10 days ago, he was in there and did a lot of work. And then ran out of time. Almost similar to this. I know somebody that got fucked 10 days ago. Totally. That cat still isn't answering my DMs. That's still live. And so he got back in there today, man, and there were some spots that were still not scabbed, but very tender. So yeah, there was a couple of spots where I was trying not to let it show, but I was fucking feeling that burn for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, thankfully mine is like he can do different areas of it. I'm trying to see if I can get a picture of it. I do have pictures of it. But yeah, he can do different areas, thankfully. So I go in and get one piece done, and then he can do the outline work. Well, not out. He fills in another section. So that's not going to work. That show.
I dig it. That's a nice piece right there.
Yeah, you can see the bit that was fresh. This bit here, up there. Yeah. Well, so yeah,
sometimes I like the red. When it loses that red, I'm almost like, oh, where'd the red go?
And that's the lizard on the foot down the bottom here.
I like it.
Yeah, so it's a biomechanical piece with like it's going to look like antler, you know, sort of like that ivory bone shield sort of encasing around it with all the mechanics on the inside. And then trying to work out how to fade it in or out. The idea was to sort of drift it all the way up the leg as far as possible. With no like hard, I'm not a fan of like having, for this style of tattoo, I don't like when you see some of them with like that bloody like edge to it. Like, no, this is just got to fade in. It's to make it look like, the idea is to make it look like it's sort of like a transformation of biology into the mechanical side of things.
Yeah,
I'm more a fan for that. Yeah.
So are you on the upper legs yet?
Not into the upper legs yet. No.
Nice.
And what's interesting, like most of the stuff is on the left-hand side of my body as well. It's like I've got to try and do some kind of balance bit. I need to see what this kitty, the other tattoos too, I can barter for the balm with. I need to find out what his styles are, and maybe he can do some stuff on my back. Yeah, there's lots of space to be worked on. The catch of those
That's my
ones is you
biggest
can't
and
see him.
last. Yeah, there you go too. There's the other reason right there.
I
The
like being
biggest
able to
piece of
see him.
real estate's back there, and you're right. Even this nice piece I got today, me seeing it actually rare.
Mm.
I have lots of pieces I forget about. I
Yeah.
honestly forget about until I just happen to catch them in the mirror. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, that
When the
one
fuck
is
did that
pretty
happen?
cool. Yeah, that's a kind of funny story right there. Maybe you might be able to relate. Have you ever, when you first got your leg pieces done, like got up in the middle of the night and like half sleep, half awake, and not realize,
Oh,
you
actually,
had
the
your
weirder
legs
one
done?
was
I've
the
looked
weirder.
down, woke up, and went, "What the fuck?" You know what I mean? I actually had that moment of like, when did all this happen? Oh shit, that's right. Yeah.
That did have that. Not with tattoos, but when I went to this, because I went from like past shoulder length to chip, gone, um, and that took me by surprise quite a few times. You'd walk past like a shop window and catch your reflection and go, "Who the fuck? Oh, that's me." And I remember standing at the side, waiting to cross the road, and I was just, it's freshly done, so thing, you're just stroking that feels like a pool table, feeling. And this guy standing next to me just went, you get over it. I went, what? I looked at him. He also had a shaved ear. He goes, you get over that sensation. Don't worry about it. Uh, but yeah, that was the one that really caught me out for quite a while. Was such a change, and you go, oh, that's me. Yeah, okay, great. It's standing in the office. I had the boss turn up, stand right next to me, ask the receptionist, "Have you seen Pete? I haven't seen him all day. Where the hell is he?" And I'm like, "I'm right here." And they're like, "Fuck, that's you." Shit, I was wondering who it was. um, but yeah.
It'd be weird. Yeah, well, looking back at pictures where you're not tatted, that's weird for me too.
Mm, mm.
Sometimes it's almost like looking at like the kid. I mean, obviously it is because you're looking back at a younger version of yourself. But a lot of times it seems like it's a younger version of myself. Like I look back and I see them bare spots, and I'm like, you didn't do shit.
You realize you got to go quite a way back for it to all disappear. I'm looking at this. Shit, that's 27 years back. I've got to go before it was completely unmarked. Um, yeah, and it doesn't feel like that long. You can still remember sitting for that first one. Um, and that still feels like
Yeah,
yesterday almost.
that's this one, by the way. Hold on, where's the camera? Right there. And I have got some pretty decent ink, and for some reason, that's the one like the smart ass calls out most of the time. Not that it's any one, but there's, and I don't even think that like the last time it happened, I don't even think the gentleman realized it. I think he was just trying to be nice. It happened as I was walking into my grocery store, and he'd been there for a while. I've had conversations with him, which it kind of made me go. That was the reason why I was like, really, really. I walk in and I've got a tank top on, and he's like, "Hey, nice Buster Bunny," and I'm like, "Thanks for pointing out my oldest tattoo when I was like fucking 17." Yeah, totally different now, but thank you for that. I'm glad that one caught your eye. I've, I've had conversations with tattoo people too. The one I remember the most was I remember she probably thought I was completely out of my mind because I probably was. She's like, I'm talking about this, and I was like thinking about letting it fade and maybe going out over it or something. She looks at me and she goes, "Have you ever thought about moving it?" And I'm thinking to myself, what kind of sick, massive kisses? What are you gonna do? Cut it off? And she's like, no, like just tattoo it in another place so you can still remember. And I'm like, well, it's not the worst fucking tattoo then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the purpose at that point? You know what I mean? But yeah, she threw me at a loop there when she said that at first. So why don't you just move it? Move it? How is that even freaking possible? You know, that's
Yeah,
not
hang on.
even a thought.
Trust me, I won't feel a thing. You will. Let me go grab the scalpel. We'll move it.
These
Oh,
days and
I've
age, man,
seen.
I would. Yeah, go ahead.
Have you seen some of that like scarification work? Like, whoa. You got to have a strong stomach for some of that stuff. I mean, I've seen this girl get her back done and have this bamboo piece done. And I mean, like cutting the skin out as they go. It's like, it looked like, do you know what pork scratchings are? Pork rinds, pork scratchings. I mean, the way that the skin had curled up, it looked like pork scratchings on the side. It was like, oh, but when it healed and everything, it was incredible. But I mean, at the same time, you just like, fuck, that's intense. I'm
Yeah,
all respect to you for doing that, but Jesus, it's more than I can be
yeah,
prepared to do.
that's gotta be pain. It's just gotta be painful. Maybe not though. I mean, scalpel
Branding is
cuts are pretty
interesting.
clean, and oh, that no, that's a whole. That's yeah. I
I've had
don't.
friends who've been branded, and
I
they
can
say it
talk
hurts
myself into
less than tattooing.
really
Mm.
because I would think just the opposite. I would like even in the latter there, the scarification. If you're working with a nice scalpel and the cat's got a steady hand, that scalpel's really so sharp. You're probably not gonna feel 90% of that until it opens up, and yeah,
Well, every nerve it
you're
cuts
not
through,
gonna
you feel
actually
it.
feel. You're not gonna actually feel that dragging. You know what I mean? It's gonna be like shink, 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 shink. You know what I mean? It's gonna hurt afterwards, just
Oh
like a
yeah, the after
tattoo.
treatment is quite. So my mate had two things branded onto the back of his calves, two big arrows, whatever, branded onto the back of his calves. And he said, why it hurt less than tattooing? He said it was like that. It just went done. And it was this huge piece that was just done in one hit. And it cauterizes the wound and it burns all the nerve endings out. So he said it hurts for like a split second and then you don't feel it. And he said, how long would it take you to tattoo something that big? And you're feeling it the whole time. He went, this was very brief, but the
Have
after
you ever
treatment is
cauterized
really specific.
yourself? You ever
Oh yeah, but
cauterized yourself accidentally?
tattoo iron has got to be, not a tattoo, branding iron has got to be like really, it can't be too hot either. It's odd. It's got to be at just the right temperature. It's very specific. You don't want to
That's the thing, though. It
burn
doesn't
too
hurt
deep.
when the burn actually happens, but the
So,
heal up, ooh boy, the next day from a cauterized wound, oof. Yeah, you might get away from it for that brief second when it's happening, but long run hurt.
oh yeah, yeah. And you got
Cauterization.
to treat yourself for shock after. You got to be really careful because it's a third-degree burn to the skin, fourth-degree burn potentially,
Straight
and
to the
you've got to watch
muscle.
out for shock and stuff like that. Yeah. Um,
Have you ever had shock from a tattoo, by the way?
no, no,
No?
uh, no.
Oh,
I've
I
watched
have. I
people.
have.
That's quite funny. Um,
I've never fell out like that. I've never fell out like that. I had a rib piece done where it was like 8 hours on my side there, and it was a long 8 hours, and I toughed it out like a champ. I'm here to say I'm not even afraid to I toughed that one out like a champ. Even I was in a room full of people, man, and my abs never got such a workout as that day. Just trying not to let it show, just like, but yeah, that
uh,
one was rough. And at the end of that one, it was visible. I could feel a sickness coming on. They're like, dude, you need some water. Here's some sugar. Did you even fucking eat, you dummy? I was like,
yeah,
no.
I always
But
take a bag of like wine gums or gummy bears, like not medicated, just regular sweets, and like a 2 liter of Lucozade or something like that, or 2 liter Coke. not the fat, like full fat Coke, sugar, and then I just keep the sugar levels up the whole way through. Yeah, that's
Oh,
certainly the
I
one where
put
you can
now.
feel like, oh,
Now I have had full out shock
mm.
from a nice size tattoo, and I'm not even afraid to admit that either. You know, the session wasn't that bad. Maybe the RSO wore off a little bit later, but it wasn't until I got into, like, say, the shower to actually wash it off and then got out to where I had shivers just so fucking bad, man. I just had to go lay down, and it was like 80-degree night. I'm just fucking under the covers, fucking shivering from shock, and
Yeah,
it's a light surgery. You know, it's a lot of trauma on the skin on a big piece. You know,
yeah,
I have
exactly. And
had some weird reactions though. Red, well, another thing too. I think color matters. You know, just like I red, I have weird reactions with red.
okay,
Just like to eat it. Yeah, you know how it sparks somebody off, and I have a nephew that if he eats anything red, any kind of red dyes, man, it is he's through the roof. You can't set that kid down for nothing. And I've noticed after I've had taken a good pounding with a lot of red, man, I feel weird for a day or two after, man, until my
mm,
body's pushed as much out or gotten used to it. But yeah, pigment. I've noticed difference in pigments as well.
mm, mm. I mean, yeah, it's certainly there's a big difference between getting it filled in and getting it outlined. It's like, yeah, filling it in doesn't hurt anywhere near like that. When they bring out the 2 needle or the fine 1 needle liner, and it's like, oh yeah, this is gonna hurt now, man. That's the one that kills. That fine
Oh, he
detailed work.
pitchforked that red in. It's big, man. It's my side there. It is huge. It's like it's the one I hate the most too, man. It's big. It's big. It's actually a demon. It's a demon. And what I took into him, what I wanted, my idea was sweet, and that was one of the ones where I'm almost up until that point I was like super critical about this is what I want. This is what I want. No sway. This is what I want.
Mm,
Artists can be a little pissy about that. You know what I mean? And you should give them some kind of artist, you know, ability to sway a little bit. You know, but this was the first one I went, okay, here you go. This is what I want. Oh, it's too big for the sticking man or whatever. So he freehanded it on there. And oh, it was a wham, 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 wham. That devil, man. The cat scheduled me on his birthday, drove me 4 hours. It's 4 hours for me to him, and then wanted me to give me like first he wanted to cancel, and I'm like, chief, ain't happening. Get your fucking gun out. You knew it was your birthday. Don't be stupid here. Which was
yeah,
probably a mistake in the beginning. And then I wasn't letting him tap out either. It was one of those days where I'm telling you, I toughed it out. I was pissed. Room full of people. I'm like, finish this motherfucker. Oh. I get up and look at it, and I'm like, oh. And I look at him, and I'm like, oh, fucker. He's like, I'll fix it. When it heals up, we'll go over it again. And he didn't charge me shit to go over it. And it looks a little bit better. Another probably 8 or 9 hours into that, which he made me pay for, by the way, mid sesh. He's like, I had to pick him up. I had to pick him up from his house, take him to the tattoo parlor. Mid sesh, he's hung over and gotta fucking eat. So we go eat. He's fucking, we're at lunch for like an hour and a half,
oh, well,
which is
I
plenty
think
of time for the adrenaline to wear off. And then he goes right back in on the riffs for another 4 hours. So, and now with that being said, I've got probably a 16 to 19 hours in on this side, and I'm got to have my current guy go in and take some of that stop sign out. He's going to probably have another 7 hours of sitting on that triple scarred tissue now,
mm,
which is going to be no fun. but it's got to be done. Out of all my tattoos, I'm like, yeah, I'm proud of even Buster here. I would I'd rather bust Buster out any day than take off my shirt and go check out this demon. It's in such a bad spot too, where the guy didn't even take consideration of like movement of like the skin right here when it moves.
Yeah.
So I got this demon right here, and it's like hooded. So when I lift up my arm, the fucker stretches about this big. The demon that's usually about this big, it's like this big. And the whole fucking facial expression goes from. Sometimes I get high and I'll play with it in the mirror. I'll be like, angry demon, happy demon, angry demon. It's all I can do. It's all I can do.
Oh dear, dear. I mean, I was quite lucky with my guy. I mean, like, he's got no design. He just had the outline work from the previous bloke. Nothing had been filled in yet. And there was a lot of detail that wasn't there. And we've just free-handed it all in. Just sat down each time, initially, and now it's just each time I go there, we just sit down and, oh, okay, let's check out. He keeps a note of what colors he's been using and just break them out. And trying to get that real 3D look onto the bone guard around the outside, it takes a while because you've really got to like layer the colors up to give it that proper sort of 3-dimensional. And it's really interesting to watch. Yeah, he's doing like an art, you lay down like base swathes of color and then go back over it once it's healed with other shades that need to give it that depth and detail.
That's a proper tattoo guy right there that can see the bigger picture and don't want to just cram it all in that one sesh.
Yeah. I mean, and we go back. I mean, I can sit for like 6 hours or so, but it tends to go for about 2.5 hours. This is usually where I like to keep it at, and we get like a decent chunk done. He's not too tired. I'm not too tired at the end of it, and you're not feeling too damaged and beaten up. Still able to drive afterwards. Usually, it's like your leg is burning a bit. You have a strange limp as you walk back to the car.
That's usually about the time I get the call. It says, "Hey, can you stop at Walmart and grab?" So now I'm hobbling through, gushing. Yeah, I got it. No problem.
Sir, are you okay? You seem to be, you're leaking from your leg. It's dribbling down your leg. That's fine.
The tattoos aren't nothing as bad as I shave in the shower, and I'm bald, so like the need to look in the mirror is like zero. You know what I mean? I can go days for not looking in the mirror and actually taking a good look at myself. So that was like this instance, and I showered, nicked this part of my ear, and didn't know it. Got out of the shower, got dressed, drove 3 hours, march into a Barnes and Noble where everybody looks at me like I have just been sliced in the neck because it's like all over my ear and down my neck, and I like. This guy comes up to these salesmen. He's like,
"Are you okay, sir?"
And again, I'm covered in tattoos, so what already's racing through his head is unknown. Sir, I mean, he has a look of fear in his eyes too, man. Can I help you? I'm like, yeah, you got a book on essential oils?
You book on stitching, sir, not essential oils.
Right over here. Did you know you got? I'm like, because I remember nicking it. And I'm like, is it bad? And he's like, it's everywhere.
Well, at least you didn't bullshit. You go, no, it's fine, sir. It's fine. It's fine. But I did that as a kid.
Yeah.
I smacked my head on a tap and cut it open. I was, like 5 years old or something, and my mom grabbed me, and of course it's a head wound, so it just pisses blood and races down to the surgery. goes into surgery. Of course, she's been holding me, so all the blood is just all over her, and they think it's her that's had the injury and whisk her off into the doctor's surgery and leave me there. And she's like, no, it's him, and I've just got blood like pissing down my face. But yeah, the immediate thing was, oh no, it's this other person that's got some horrendous injury. It's like, no, it's that one over there. Yeah, head injuries are they bleed like mad. Don't know if you ever watched that Tattoo Masters with Dave. This is Dave Navarro, and a few of them. I mean, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the show format, but some of it's funny to watch. These people that cover, they go, oh yeah, what this great big. I watched one guy getting his head done, and he couldn't handle it, man. Trying to get a big headpiece done in 6 hours, and at like 4 hours in, the guy's going, I can't see anymore. In come the paramedics.
I actually do watch a lot of that. It's usually before the tattoo too, so I can just drive my guy crazy with like tattoo shit. He gets like no bullshit about. Have you seen the new fading? What about the whites? He's like, shut the fuck up, man. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, that's not what we're doing today.
Is that new rotary technique? Are you gonna try that? Like,
have you seen that micro realism? Can we do that sometime? No. Stop watching that shit.
They should have a sign up like they have at the mechanics. If it costs $15 to fix your exhaust. If you want to watch me fix your exhaust, it's $30. If you want to tell me how to fix your exhaust, it's $100. If you want to help, it's $400. It should be at the tattooist. If you want to tell me how it should be done, it's going to be X.
He actually has that sign. And the last one is fixing other people's work. But yeah, it's funny because I jokingly catch myself breaking every one of them friggin' rules as I'm doing that. I'm like, I've broken all those except that last one. And then I look at the demon here, and it makes me want to not even go in for the demon because I have broke all the rest.
Brilliant, man, brilliant. Yeah.
So, what are some of your favorite cannabis strains that you like? Well, let me double back a little bit. What's your preferred ingestion method? Do you prefer dabs? Do you like flower? Do you like the pens? Edible?
I like flowers. I mean, over here, I think the dab scene is taking off, but it's really, I mean, you need to make them yourself. Welcome to the black market. Unless you know someone, you've either got to be prepared to do it yourself. And so I like making edibles and flour, and then I can make balms and that. So use it kind of like use it from snout to tail. Use it from the whole leaf. Use the whole plant. Process every piece of it. I think it's a good idea. So yeah, I do like the edibles. They're quite nice, but that's one of those things. I'll smoke flower and allegedly drive. Edibles, I'm like, nah, that's okay. I'm not going to get behind the wheel of a car now. That's a different kind of head fuck that you can get, for sure. At least with flower, you can kind of regulate it to like, yeah, that's fine. It's comfortable. But yeah, no,
I agree.
Definitely the preference.
I agree. That's why I was saying the other night that we were talking about the Reefer Madness video. You ever seen the Reefer Madness video? I'm like, I want some of that shit. And I want some of that shit. And I was like, I would smoke that shit. You know why? Because I could stop. Or I could keep going to that right there. You know what I mean? That's the beauty of cannabis, is you can stop, but hopefully you can get to that. I mean, I've only been to Reefer Madness like once, and I'm still looking for that fucking strain.
And I found the extracts, again, when we went over to America, Yeah, they were nice. I mean, it was interesting. I don't know if I could do it all day, every day. Um, I actually find that it clears up really quickly. What I like about smoking flower is that it kind of, I don't know, it seems to mellow and last a bit longer. But I'm also like one of the horrible old school who puts a little bit of tobacco in with my flower. Welcome to the European thing. Um, it's a little bit. You just do it. Yeah,
I,
it
I
does
put
add
hash.
something different to it.
I throw hash in there. To each your
Yeah,
own.
yeah. I'm always amazed. You see those ones, like it's an eighth of flour, and then it's got another eighth of hash rolled through the middle, and then it's got another eighth of extract, spiraled around the outside of it, and it's then been rolled through another eighth of keef, and you're like, Jesus Christ, man! And
He, I will not spiral. I will not spiral. That's where I draw the line right there. I will pack it full of that gram of fucking hash. I'll put the rest of it in there. I'll goob the inside of the paper, but I will not twirl it
spiral.
around the outside and sprinkle that shit on there. It's just a waste. It's a
Uh,
waste at that point. It goes up into the air. It don't go into your lungs. It's a waste.
mm,
It's
mm.
pretty. It's a pretty waste. Is all that spiral is. I hate seeing it.
Yeah,
Really
I mean
do.
it's just for show, it's nothing more at that point, It's just like that's just crazy. Um, and yeah, I find it was when we went stayed at Tanassi's, really nice guy, really nice host, from the Embracing Organic show. I walked in and he was actually hitting some Durban poison rosin, I think it was, and yeah, you could smell it straight. I walked in and went, I know what that is. I mean, it was really, that has a clear terpene profile that follows it around. So for me, that I really like that. I like the African. Again, I think it's because it's what you just consumed a lot of. Your palate becomes sort of tuned into that. I don't like the overly heavily, but I like really strong cannabis as well. I do like the really hard hitting stuff, but I don't want it to be pass out in the couch necessarily.
I
I
need
like
a
the kind of
variety myself. I have to have multiple strains for that reason.
mm, mm.
I mix it up through the day, but I like to have them around. Some days I like to just be knocked out.
Yeah.
Some days just call for that recipe.
And then you've got things like, you've got what I think is really interesting to see is being this like interest in the Cob curing technique. So Malawi Cob, I know GMF is busy doing that at the moment, and he's doing it in a really sort of like interesting modern way, taking a real modern twist on it. But to suddenly see, people talking about something like that, which is a real traditional African way of curing weed from Malawi, um, to me, that'll be interesting. If that takes off, that would be incredible because it doesn't look nice. Now it's all about flavor and the effect. You don't do that for bag appeal. It looks like a turd. It looks more like an owl pellet slash turd. But it's this fermented cure that happens, and you get this incredible weed at the end of it, which really knocks you on your ass. And it's um, activated, so you can eat it straight away. Uh, it's worth
So
looking at.
let's say you find that one there, and it's a bitch trim. You love it, but it just got awful to trim. You keeping it?
For personal, yeah, probably. But then it's always personal. I mean, I tell you what, I do the what they call it, a farmer's trim. It's for me, man. I don't care. You know, it, I actually quite prefer to leave most of the sugar leaf and all of that on and only take that off at the very last second anyway. Keeps it all nicely together. Yeah, and it's like a little surprise package each time. And all the trichomes all get kept on the bud. They don't all just fall into the jar. They're all kept nicely together. So yeah, no. If it's good, it's good. And good weed gets you stoned. You know? It's like any landing you walk away from was a good landing.
Oh man, I trim as close as I can. I don't want to work it again myself. I can appreciate it and I understand what you guys are thinking by leaving it out there. And I wish that when I did have to leave it behind for others to smoke, that they would be as appreciative. Because I never get that. I never get thank you. This is going to be just like it was supposed to be. It's always like, oh,
Mm. No,
really
I've got to do
slacking
some
on
extra
that
work.
trim. And I have to do this. I got to do it.
You go, like if you say, well, hang on, you're not growing it for profit. So yes, you do have to do it. There's a small piece of this equation that you have to do. And then if you're going to mash it up for like extract, does it really matter? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm on the other end of that. Even if I liked it, if I can't trim it, or I think I'd exit out of there. To be honest with you, I don't think I could tough it out, even if I loved it. So what about I guess the same kind of question. Overall bud structure. What if you know I because I know extractors. Some of their favorite strains they extract are lettuce. You know what I mean? That bud structure's next to nothing, but it's super loud, super terpy. But it wouldn't be our first choice.
Yeah, because they're not growing for weight or growing for visual bag appeal. They're growing for a completely different purpose. They want it to be big, airy, spacey sort of stuff because they want it to be as easy as possible to get to all of the. You don't have to grind the bud up to get to the inner part of it. Whereas if you're doing an extract from a really dense bud, you've got to break that whole thing up. Otherwise, you're not going to be getting the full extraction. Um, so yeah, definitely. And then that's the interesting thing is if you're picking tropical sativas or tropical strains, they're going to be area buds. If you're keeping it in like the land racy sort of space or the heirloom space, there will be open airy buds. Um, your indicas are obviously the ones that dense it up a bit. So, and then with all these hybrids, most of them are dense little buds. I find what's interesting is depending on how you're growing it, the same plant will express. I've got one where cooler, it will be really hard nugs. Warm it up a bit more humid, boom, and you get more of that sativa expression coming out of it. Sort of adjusts itself accordingly. But I don't like them being too hard. I mean, those days are long gone where it's like you drop a little pebble on the table and it goes thunk. I I don't know if that really answers the question.
I'm always happy to hear the thunk though when I'm trimming out new strain and I drop that bud into the container there and I hear that thunk, thunk. I'm always like,
Yeah, oh,
yeah.
yeah. There's definitely something to it. um, but that, I guess, is also the difference between if you're growing it, commercially growing it for weight, then yeah, that makes all the difference. But at the same time, you don't want a little, it's really difficult, I think, to sell. That would be the problem with cob is you take like a couple of ounces or so and it shrinks down to this tiny little amount. It really becomes quite small. It's really dense and compact. So yeah, when you drop that thing on the table, it's thunk. And somebody goes, oh, I just wanted an ounce. And you go, all right, well, I'll cut a piece off for you then. Off a little stick like this. It's like, all right, only an ounce. All right, clip. Here's a quarter of it for you. Um, it's a
I do enjoy those ones when you pass them over and they're like, yeah, this is what. There you go. You want to check it?
yeah,
You'll know when
exactly.
you cut it up. You'll
Yeah,
know.
then you fluff it and it goes poof. It really gets big. Uh, which is what I sometimes think is maybe that why people, oh, it's really strong. No, mate, it's just really dense and you've just smoked twice as much as you normally would. Um, yeah, it's not that it's super, super strong. You just doubled up.
I was going to base the question loosely off Tiny 101, but I might as well just give him credit and ask his question there. He wants to know about those African sativas and some of the strains that you have tried there in Africa. Actually, that was his second question. He said, talk about the South African and the Turks from. You ever smoke any cannabis while you're there?
Yeah. I mean, Durban. I mean, I'm from Durban, so the home of Durban Poison. And that was the primary one that you would get. So that and Transkei Reds, which came from a bit further down the coast, they're pretty similar actually. Grown in the same sort of region. They look slightly different to each other. One has much redder calyxes, which is why it gets the name Transkei Reds. And then you find a very, very similar traits. It's called Redbeard is the English translation, but Rooibos is, and I'm butchering the Afrikaans, is a name which stands for Redbeard, and you will see it advertised on some seed banks. You'll be able to find that. A Malawi gold in the form of Malawi Cob is certainly something I've had. But yeah, I mean, over there, it's just it's common parlance. It's called dacha. I mean, it's just bushweed. When I was living there, you didn't have all the hybrids. I had one friend who did a cross where they crossed Durban Poison with something. It was like one of the first hybrids he got to smoke, and it just killed. I mean, I gave it to my local guy who I was getting from, local black guy whose uncle was bringing it up from the coast. They tried it and they came back and he went, no, keep that stuff. That's way too out there. You see, they don't like it. They're not smoking to get fucked up. They're smoking to work. It's an appetite suppressant. It keeps you working and busy all day. There's a reason why these people, these cultivars have happened.
Yeah, they're hitting me because we already hit that. We've already covered that. Answer the question so late if you know we've already covered it. Catch your question.
Yeah, get here earlier, people, or leave sooner.
They can be brutal sometimes. Sometimes they can be totally hilarious.
Yeah. All nice, man. All good. Hey, the sun's it's a grey day here. I was about to say the sun's up, but it's just that it's lighter outside. There's no actual sun to be seen.
Do you not get to see it come up very often?
Oh, it's often overcast. Yeah, it's this time of year. It's going to be. This is England at this time of year now. It'll be overcast most of the time. But that's the problem with being where we are with this jet stream that comes. Well, the Atlantic Gulf stream brings the warmer weather. So because we're really far north. I mean, we're way further north than New York is. We don't get anywhere near as cold, and of course, because it just gets kept a little bit warm, you just get this kind of grey weather. Occasionally, hasn't done it for a very long time. It gets super cold. I mean, blue skies, super chilly days, those are fine. It's grey and just oppressive. It's like, that's not fun.
Can't be that bad. Can't be. So I can't help but wonder what type of lights and stuff are you running over there?
There's SAN light, SAN lights, the Q6Ws, LEDs. They are 220. I've got two of them. They're 225 watts each. So it's what 400 watts running. And cocoa, Green Planet nutrients, but also I'm like mildly fortunate position. I don't really pay for the nutrients occasionally. I just get given samples. I find that you can make them last for a hell of a long time. And actually, the powdered nutrients from Greenhouse powder feed, I can highly recommend them if you're salt growing. Salts are organic too.
That's it. That face right there is a full extension of the leg.
see that tightening up, can you? That skin doesn't want to move.
I'll have a limp tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know. I find mine, I'll wash it, keep it covered for 24 hours, and then shower, wash it all off, get rid of all that excess ink. Yeah, and then lather it up from that point forward the next week or so. That's my sort of treatment regime. It gets a good, with unscented soap. Wash it all off with unscented soap. It's an important thing.
Not antibacterial either.
Mm.
Just regular unscented soap.
Yeah.
If you use antibacterial soap, it will actually kill off too much stuff, all the killing stuff. It's like,
yeah,
definitely. Even a doctor on a fresh wound will tell you not to use antibacterial on a deep wound after surgery.
A week or so later, it's fine.
The aftercare for me, it depends on where the place is. I went back and forth on techniques over the years. You know, as far as covering it with plastic, I like that stuff now. The what is it? The trichoderm they put on there. It's like a piece of tape that's clear. It sticks for like a week or so. Waterproof, breathable, really nice. Expensive, and I always make my I go against the grain on fucking everything. Tattoo guy says smack. Keep that on for 24. You know that's good for a week. And the first time I did that, I had like a little something underneath, and I'm like, forget that. So every time after that, I'm like, give me. If he's gonna give it to me, just give it to me. You know, so I go home and actually wash it and get it to a great state, and then I smack that on there, and then that stuff's on there all the way through the heel, and it's pretty nice heel up like that.
How does it work for peeling it off, though? It doesn't lift anything with it when it peels off or anything like that? No, all good.
No more than you would have lost. No more than you would have lost. And it's not that bad to peel off. You just kind of like peel it forward, stretch it a little bit, pull it back a little bit, and then, you know, choke up a little bit, pull it, keep it going. Work the corners. It comes on.
And on 3, 1, 2.
Anymore, I'm religious on like cleaning though, man. Every 4 hours, man. I'm usually like I'm almost itching for the shower. You know, get in there and wash it down, and then every 4 hours for the first 3 days at least, all through the aquifer phase. I don't know what you use for Vaseline or whatever, but I use aquifer. Product placement. No, not that I get anything off that, but I would.
I just use aquifer. Yeah, I mean, I just use that looks really dodgy. That's the bomb, but I just use that. Like I said to the guy when I gave it to the tattoo shop as well, I said, look, I'm not recommending that you put this on a fresh tattoo because I can't guarantee it's sterile. You know, I'll put it on my own, but I'm not recommending that you go and put this on an open wound. I'll put it on mine. It's my choice, my mistake. Thankfully, it's been fine. But I do give it like 24 hours or so before I put it on. It needs to have a little bit of healing going before I start lathering it up. And then, yeah, it's done. And I had some tattoo goo.
Well, the 4 hours and you know what? I'm actually like, I'll chintz on the showers too. The first 3 days, I'll try not to get in, and you know, if I have to wash, it's like usually that area I don't spend a lot of time in the shower. Paid too much, man. I went through too much pain to fucking mess up that tattoo in the critical stages. Man.
It's like that, yeah, at that stage, also when it's just been done, man, it's that stepping into the shower is like stepping into a lava shower as that water runs over it. It's just like, yeah, that burn, man. It's, yeah, the only way to explain it is like get badly grazed. Essentially what you've done is you've just grazed a huge section of skin and then go and stand in the hot shower. Like, fuck me.
I must be a glutton for punishment, like on that too, because I am just brutal during them phases. Cold water, it's got to be like as cold as I can stand it. So the skin pores are like closed up when I'm washing it, so I'm not hopefully purging any ink like that. So yeah, that water's got to be damn near ice cold when I wash it. And then aftercare, when I like tonight when I put this on, it will be as brutal as getting the tattoo because I don't like to cake it on there. I hate when I see people with it just it just sparkles. You know what I mean? Because they've got so much on there. That's not the way the tattoo guy does it, man. You got to rub it in there with a bare minimum. I mean, you don't want to layer over that. So yeah, I'm painfully like using the minimum I can and in every direction too. I'm like stupid like that. I'm like, and I don't even know if skin's like directional. You know what I mean? So if you
The
could
hair
just
follicles
rub
are,
it
yeah.
in this way, I'm like, nah, I gotta go this way. That way. I don't know.
Oh
And
man,
then
yeah.
you have to wash that shit off. Wash that shit off before you apply new on there. Damn it, you wait that 4 hours and then wash it off.
And then of course your sheets have now got a nice new design on them. I remember that after the first tattoo I got waking up in the morning and there's like this, and you realize, oh, that ink's permanent. Yeah, pretty fucking permanent when it gets into cloth. You know, it doesn't go. You've got, oh, there's my first tattoo. There's my second tattoo. You know, you can trace them out.
Just have a tattoo sheet. This is the one I use after a tattoo.
So they collect over the years. Yeah, exactly. Chris in chat. Oh dear, oh dear. Nature's fleshlight.
He's the one that derailed last night's rabbit hole. Pay no attention to Chris in chat. You never know where he's going.
Yeah, with the robots. Yes, yes. I caught the tail end of that.
I remember that. I said that to him. I'm like, great, tomorrow's guest is in chat. Come on.
Oh, no, that's absolutely fine. My kind of humor.
It happens, man.
It happens sometimes. I like Anthony Jeselnik and that lot. I do like the darker side of humor.
Oh man, when they told him I changed his name yesterday, the look on his face was like priceless. When he looked down at his screen to see I had changed his name from I don't just because I'm saying it verbally, I don't want to embarrass you. From what it was to Robot Ass Smasher. Oh man. It was priceless. Right. He's like, oh man. How's that been? How long has that kick me side been on there?
Oh, brilliant, man. Brilliant.
I totally got the idea from him though, because he does it to me all the time. You know, he changes it himself. And you know, I'm like, oh, and he'll always have something stupid on there. Well, not stupid, but funny. Funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as I say, the 7-month dating hiatus is killing him thanks to COVID. As this is the one thing that's not being discussed about is the increase in self-sexual abuse that's taken place during the lockdown. You know? People are abusing themselves sexually more and more on a daily basis. Now show the jury where you touched yourself on this doll. You know?
Nobody's talking about the sudden blindness spike.
Yeah. The increase in palm shaving that's happened. Optometrists puzzled by increase in requirement for glasses.
Forget the toilet paper. Stock up on lotion for round 2. Don't be going at it all dry, dog. You're gonna hurt yourself then.
Friction burns are real.
I don't like myself anymore. Totally blaming you, Chris. Totally blaming you for this rabbit hole.
Oh dear, dear. Oh well.
Let's try to get this back on track here. Jeez, Chris. Damn. We're always just going to have to chip in and get him the robot. It's the only way we're going to get his mind straight.
Yeah, we're just ordering one off wish.com. It's not going to be quite what you were expecting. It's a sex robot, but it's the one that does the fucking. You know?
Oh no, you know how that would be funny. That would be if you ever ordered anything on Wish, that robot would show up 10 years later at Thanksgiving while your family was there. That's when
With
your Wish
kids.
robot would show up. Yeah. Yeah. And it would say sex robot on the box.
The startled look on its face.
I don't even remember ordering this. I thought it was a joke.
Comes with chlamydia.
Yeah. Oh man. Preloaded. Preloaded. It was a glitch. It was supposed to have other
Comes
stuff.
with STVs.
Yeah.
It's a real sex robot. You get what you pay for, mate. Just like
She's
the
a
real
small-
world.
Oh man.
There is a difference
Hey,
between
honey,
a 10.
come give it to me. That'd be oh,
Cigarette hang out its mouth. What? Who's been a naughty boy? There's a big difference between, like the $5 hooker and the $1,000 hooker. Be careful what you buy. Don't be expecting $1,000 for a $5. It's a very yeah.
my robots had a C-section. Oh, Chris.
I thought my robot had a cold until I realized it was just full.
Oh,
dear.
Priceless. See, priceless.
Oh, I paid my pay.
Chat's just as dirty minded. Let's get the sound bite and let's really get dirty. Get Chris on here screen sharing.
Oh dear,
Not
dear.
Chris, Dave. Dave something. Dave's not here either.
Dave's not here.
He wouldn't do that.
Oh man. Dill rays.
So is there anything that you've got in the garden that you're looking to pop or collect and bring into the garden?
My cousin Chip's garden, yeah. Just to be clear. Yeah, looking at doing so for this up and coming, as for this breeder program or breeder series that we want to do on plant breeding, looking at bringing in some landrace Afghan Kush, to bring that in and start play around with that with some other bits and pieces. Yeah, just to see. I mean, that to me is interesting. I like, and you know, it's the whole thing behind what Operation Grow is there for, is just to try and put some of the, you know, quantify or qualify some of the claims. You know, is there any substance to it? So what we're doing at the moment with season 4 is like so 4 cuts from the same plant. It's all the same genetic, you know, exactly the same thing being grown. They're all being grown in the same irrigation system, which is the autopot system in cocoa, same nutrients going to all the plants, same, you know, everything is as same as we can get it. And then one plant is not having anything done to it. One of them will have aggressive leaf stripping done. Another one's having the stems just popped, not doing much more than just stem popping and keeping it, you know, defoliated as you would normally do. And then the third one is having super cropping done to it. And then at the end, it's to compare, at the end of the grow, is say, okay, let's compare them up. So let's weigh them all together and compare, okay, so which one yielded the most? Which of these techniques gives the best yield? Now, so that's one measurement, it yields better, but does it give a better quality? So, which are two different things. You know, more mass doesn't mean more quality. And so do you notice that, okay, leaf stripping does something in terms of the quality spike that I'm looking for, whereas the cropping and the popping, that allows me the plant to hold more, so I get a bigger yield. Or actually, the one that I did nothing to, because it didn't get stressed at all, did the best. It actually performed the best. So it's a waste of time to do all this. I mean, this is what we want to show. You know, can we actually show that as being, you know, real? You know, so is there any substance to these claims? It's just trying to, I guess, get rid of the bro sciencey bit and make it a little bit more sciencey in those terms, and just to explain why it's doing what it's doing. Or yes, this technique does make a difference, so it is worth doing it. But again, some strains are not going to like it as well. There are going to be one or two that really don't like being abused like that. They're going to be trigger happy. You know, like the divisive thing, you know, crystals and that. Now, I'm from the science world, you know, so, and I go, okay, well, if you really want to get anything from those crystals, grind them up into a fine water-soluble powder and just water your plants with it. That's the best way of getting it, because it's the mineral compound of the crystal that it's really interested in. It's not the energy fields coming from it. But, you know, if the claim is that it does something, well, then let's put it to the test. Let's put 4 plants. One of them has, you don't know which one, blind test it. One pot has it in the bottom. The other 3 don't. Put the same plant in all 4 pots. Do nothing to it. Don't do any kind of treatment. Just leave it alone, so that, you know, there's no extra factor other than it has that in the pot, and see if it makes a difference. And then try and work out why it makes a difference. You know, a lot of stuff that started off anecdotal became, you know, real. So is there something to it? And then, okay, let's understand what it is to it. You know, remember at one point we believed the sun was dragged across the sky by horses, until we worked out, no, it isn't. But until we could work out it wasn't, that story stuck. You know, proved me wrong. You know, and and so, well, we should actually be saying prove me right. But you know, so now it's that same side to it. You know, I'd like to understand if it makes a difference, and if it does, great. Let's put some science to it. You know, birth control, headache tablets, these things all started off because, you know, somebody ate this tribe that eats this plant. I think last night, you know, you can bang that village senseless and there's no kids because they eat that plant. So there's something to it, and that one never gets headaches because they eat the bark from that one. And, you know, and slowly you work out, oh, okay, so let's synthesize out what it is. You know, what's the trick? So to me, you know, they both have their sides, and they come at it from polar opposite, and you get the extreme ends on both sides. And the science guys looking at the crystal spiritual end, going, "What the fuck?" You know? people not heard of soap? And then you've got that's coming from the other way, going, oh man, but what about the spiritual well-being? You go, okay, there's find the balance, but I'd like to
Are
be able
you
to explain the
open-minded
one with
to
the
it?
other. What, to the fact that that they work, that crystals make a difference
No,
in this
like,
scenario, or
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
open to that there's a scientific.
spirituality and in the whole. You know what I
I'm
mean?
open to that there's a scientific explanation to it, and I genuinely think there is. I don't think there's much we couldn't eventually explain away. It just I mean, we've only been around for a blip, man. We hardly, in terms of getting to understand shit, we've only just begun. Um, who's to say where we are in 3,000 years time? I mean, yeah. Oh yeah, we know what a soul is. We download it and we transfer it over there if we want to. We back it up. We do what we want with it. You know,
And again, I guess
spirituality. I mean,
it
yeah.
does transfer to the deeper level there, as with crystals and stuff. Yeah, I mean, so are you open-minded to it when it transfers down to like putting crystals in with your plants and stuff? Are you like, it sounds like bullshit, but it
As I
could
say, I
work?
mean, you know, I okay, entitled to my opinion. It can be divisive, but to take a stance in it, I would say that the reasoning being given for the crystals having the benefit is the bullshit part. Okay, that's the anecdotal. I can't explain
The
why.
placebo, you think it's like a placebo with you and the plant?
No, I think it's more like I don't understand why. So it is the energy of the crystal as opposed to, hang on, what's the chemical compound of the crystal? How quickly does that break down into the soil when the roots get near to it? Can the roots, if the roots hit it and start leaching it, can they break it down a little bit quicker? And so what they're actually getting is macronutrients and macro minerals out of those crystals, which aren't normally there. So that's actually what the boost is. It's not the energy in the crystals, it's that those crystals are made up of, I mean, it's salts. And so if the plant can, for some reason, extract something from it, that's possible. But if you don't understand that's what's going on, then yes, sure, it makes sense to say it's the energy in the crystals, because I can't explain it any other way. I mean, that's why religion existed, to be able to explain shit.
But
Um,
as a scientist, you will agree that crystals do store energy, right?
yeah, but again, I want to be able to, if the claim is true, it's repeatable, it's measurable, it's not just hearsay. That if there's any claim to it, and it's very different to saying, oh look, the soil in Jamaica, yeah, because it's in Jamaica, I get it. But and you'd have to be in Jamaica for it to work as well, because it's not just the soil, it's the climate, it's everything that goes together. But if you're telling me that I can take a crystal from anywhere in the world and drop it in my pot and it'll have a benefit, well then that should be repeatable and measurable. Um,
Only if the crystal's from the same source.
but then therefore every crystal's from a
Right?
different source, so therefore unless you're all buying crystals from the same source, then that
You just
puts
find
you
a
on.
variety of results, right? Maybe. Because
But we're
and
all
then again, we
subjective
have to
to our
take into
own.
the fact they're charged in different levels. They're not all necessarily have the same.
Again,
I
there
love.
should be something. There should be something measurable. We should be able to measure it somehow. But again, I think what comes to play, and this is the catch from both sides, is what comes into play is your confirmation bias towards your way of thinking about it. The confirmation bias being it's bullshit. Or it's all about the energy. It's and it's really difficult for both of those extreme ends to find the middle ground and go, okay, for this side to go, they discovered something, but they discovered it anecdotally. And for this side to go, okay, what we discovered anecdotally is explained by the science now. And that's really the key, is to understand that the anecdotal evidence leads to eventually, if there's any truth behind it, leads to the scientific explanation and therefore the repeatability of it, which we want to be able to do. I mean, if there's truth to that matter, we want to be able to figure out how we can actually maximize it. If there's no truth to it, well, then great. If it works for you as a placebo effect, then fine. Keep going. That's why I say it should be blind tested. Don't know which one had the treatment done. You tell me. And if you can't, well, then it starts to the impact isn't as great as you're claiming it is. You can give me the crystals and I will put them in a pot, but I'm not going to tell you which one they're in. In fact, I won't even know which one they're in. I'll get somebody else to put them in. You know what I mean? And then it's a true blind test.
We can go on. We can go on for about this for hours. I mean, physics says just us being present skews the whole test, right? Yeah, just us.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's really difficult to do, and that becomes the whole problem. I mean, that's why. And that's exactly why, the thing about science is it's figuring out how do I define the experiment so that it doesn't have outside influence. It's trying to keep and that's again the idea behind Operation Growth, trying to do things all the same cut, all the same grow medium, all in the same tent, under the same lights, being irrigated the same way. It's trying to remove as many of the random factors as we can to then just be able to focus in on the one thing we're trying to highlight for that particular season or treatment that we're trying to do.
I dig it.
But it's there to be and to be able to back it up with numbers and then go, yeah, okay, cool.
So how many truths have you found in some of these techniques? I mean, because I utilize a lot of them, to be honest with you. I like to pinch the stems until they pop. I'm not super crazy on super cropping, but I'm not afraid of it. But there's little tips and tricks that I use. Deleafing, I like to deleaf. I'm a firm believer in that, all phases through. So I mean, have you found some? That was my next question. I was going to give you too. Is as a scientist, what are your thoughts with bro science? You know what I mean? Because it's pretty much bro science until you've discovered and you found some good results, and then from there on, it's convincing everybody else. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
I
think
the stuff. Everybody, look.
Yeah,
so
and
that could happen on a bro science level.
Yeah, and at least stripping would be kind of like a classic example of like the bro science that's backed up with actual scientific fact for it, where you don't understand, if you don't know why it's having the effect, but it has an effect, you go, okay, so if you leaf strip, I get a better terpene profile. I don't get as big a yield, but I suddenly notice, oil production goes up, and part of the reasoning behind that is the plant thinks it's being attacked, which is different to when you're popping the stems. When you're stripping the leaf off, it thinks it's being eaten. And so it goes into a defensive mode and tries to produce more of the deterrent to stop itself getting eaten. And so, that's what you're tripping up. You're tripping up the plant's natural defense technique to something's nibbling on me. The first thing I do is make myself less appealing to be nibbled on. And the way I'm going to do that is sticky and, it's just not pleasant. The stem popping is more simulating the things being in a high wind or being moved around so that the tissue fibers get damaged and they strengthen up. So with stem popping, you can support more weight without having to trellis it or support it with strands, etc., to hold it all up. And so that's behind that. And with the super cropping, it's just being able to create, again, makes it a bit more sturdy at the point where you super cropped it, but that forcing it down is leveling out the canopy. So you suddenly get more bud points rising up, bud sites rising up, and getting a more even canopy as well. It's certainly what you notice with super cropping. So they all have their place for different, depending on what it is that you're trying to get out of it. I don't think super cropping, for instance, improves terpene profile in there, because the stress you're putting on it isn't triggering it for that kind of response. It's more like, oh shit, I've damaged myself, I've got to repair it and heal. And so all that growth hormone that goes there at that point also goes, shit, where do I have to go now? Nowhere. I'll go into the rest of the plant material around me. So you get sort of increased bud growth potentially. What kind of science? I'm a data scientist, unfortunately, I guess, by trade. So I like looking at the numbers, but I also did biology. I mean, I did biology, chemistry, physics.
So to say that is almost to say that the plant's so intelligent that it can define from different types of stress
Hmm?
and send out different chemicals, basically. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and you see it happen in African acacia trees. There's a number of them where as soon as like a giraffe starts chewing on one over there, it puts out a pheromone into the air and communicates with all the other ones nearby that it's being attacked, and they all go into all their leaves shut down, and they produce even more like deterrent. But that's like chemical signaling to everything else around it that it's being attacked, and they all respond to it being attacked. Yeah, they're clever. They're not, they're not stupid
Same
in that
thing,
sense.
that's the same thing with grass. That smell of fresh cut grass that we all enjoy is a panic scent. It's telling the rest of the grass that what's going on. It's fucking, you're getting ready to be chopped. That's
Like
that
that scene
smell
from
that we
Sausage
all enjoy.
Party, I don't know if you've watched the movie Sausage Party.
Bits and pieces. No, I can't say.
Oh, the bit with the vegetables where they're about to go and it like gets peeled. It's the sudden realization, like, whoa, this isn't all, Ah,
Yeah, that just kind of struck me back a little bit. That in your opinion, that I can define and stress for such a great way. I can understand, like, say, a past stress, it being able to distinguish that, but as a form of like injury, uh, that kind of struck me back a little bit because I honestly believe myself as, and again, liberal science, whatever. I don't like to support my plants. I like to let them, let the weight of them actually form that stress and cause a little bit of stress later on
mm,
for terps and extra THC production. I'll let them go until I know they're ready to, collapse on themselves, and then I'll usually pull them in, to the main stem with some string or green tape or something. Won't
mm,
let them
mm.
go to complete collapse, but I definitely let them stress. So it does strike, raise a little bit of a flag with me that you're telling me the pinch from the, stress of it just bending and almost breaking is completely different because you were saying that by pinching it you thought it kind of reduced terps a little bit. So
Well, no,
if it
I don't.
reduced, then it
I
would
wouldn't
be
say it would.
sending a little bit different signal. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
no, okay.
saying, from the bend stress.
Well, yeah, well, hang on, just to be clear, it doesn't reduce the terps. What you find is that leaf stripping has the effect of increasing terpene profile, as opposed to increasing the weight. Whereas by popping the stems and doing the super cropping, because you damage the stem and it has to heal, each one of those knuckles, it's stronger and more sturdy at that point. So if you do it all the way up the stem, it's a much more rigid stem. It can hold a lot more weight before it collapses. And as soon as it starts to collapse, the plant will stop putting weight on it, knows it's collapsing, and it knows I shouldn't put more weight onto these branches because all that's going to happen is they're going to collapse further, which I don't want. I'm trying to keep everything up so it gets pollinated. I don't want it down in the ground. Um, and so it'll stop putting weight onto those, which is just, it's very cleverly how it's doing. The growth hormone is rising to the highest points. And as those points dip down, they're no longer the highest point. So the amount of growth hormone to those areas starts to reduce. Um, but by popping and supercropping it, if it's like that case with the forest. All the trees around the outside of the forest, when there's high winds, the forest is fine because the outside trees are strong. You chop down the outside trees, wind comes through, the whole forest gets blown down because nothing inside has been toughened up to being knocked around. It's never had to stiffen up and toughen up to it. That's another thing that good air movement does. That constant moving of the branches is sort of tearing the tissue ever so slightly, constantly getting stronger and stronger. So that's really what the big, where it's the type of stress you're doing. How does the plant react to it, and what is the end goal in mind in stressing it in that way? What are you trying to do? and getting the timings right, doing them at the right time, because doing them at the wrong time can have quite a drastic effect as well. In terms of like leaf stripping, getting that wrong could probably have quite a dramatic effect. Now it's got to put all the energy back into growing leaves, which is the downside. You've just removed all of its batteries, and now it's got to recreate all of them. So I think that's where you might find the yield goes down, because it's having to create more biomass for the leaves, but the chemical profile goes up because it's a different thing that it's doing there.
I'll be heavy on the bro science on that one. Heavy-handed. I do see a little bit more, differences in yield. To be honest with you, with deleafing. Certain times I use it. I use deleafing for several different ways. To be honest with you, ways to slow it down, stretching and stuff. And, first stages of flower to just blocking light and transferring energy later in flower. I don't know. I do it a lot. A lot. I'm heavy in veg too. I love, I deleaf heavy in veg. I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good time to do it. Got plenty of time for it to kick back in. I see Chris here wants to talk about the Minder, which is our environment monitoring platform utility device. Actually, I don't have one lying around here at the moment. They're all plugged in. But yeah, we do. Teal Grow Systems does environment monitoring, which is remote Wi-Fi, so it's truly remote. It's not a security risk. Bluetooth is way more of a security risk. And so yeah, you can keep an eye on. Let me see. Always cautious about doing live demos. If there's one thing that can go wrong or embarrass you, it's a live demonstration. But if you allow screen sharing, I can quickly show what dashboard of it, what the current platform looks like. So you get all of your current data coming up. So this is the time here now, 8:54. This is all in Celsius, by the way, in case you're wondering about those temperatures. Going, holy shit, what's he doing? But yeah, giving you the latest temperature and humidity. There's two temperature. Each unit comes with, Minder unit comes with an ambient sensor and one that's also a waterproof temperature probe. So you can stick it in the grow medium or in your reservoir or your DWC, or just use it as another ambient temperature. So you can get a temperature gradient. You can understand how it's different in different parts of the room. And we calculate VPD based off canopy data. And we do it in hectopascals here. And you can tell it what your bands are that you want to be noted. So anything in the green, it's fine. If it goes into the red or yellow, I get notified. It'll send an email, so you get alerts. In fact, you can.
So, you can run all that from your phone.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, it's a website, so you don't install anything on your phone. It doesn't take up any space on your phone. You can have a look at charts for up to the last 4 weeks of data. That this will be the one I'll probably end up breaking the damn thing now. It is going through a whole rewrite at the moment. So there we go. Me fucking around. But yeah, you can go in and have a look and see, how things are going. At any point, you can export the data as well, and you can check out how your VPD is. There's a grow journal. I can go on for hours about this stuff, where you can have a look and see. So we actually have a way of being able to define a grow environment. So I can say I have a grow space that's X big. So it's like 1 cubic meter. It has 2 lights in it. These are the 2 lights that are in it. It's got 1 minder. It's got 2 containers. This is what's in those containers, the size, the grow medium, the plants that are in there. And I can track everything that I'm doing to those containers, including logging all of the environmental data that went with it. So when I harvest at the end and I close it all out, I can get like yield to light ratio. I can get yield to waste ratios if I've been logging how much biomass I've been taking off throughout it, because you might want to, a plant that yields a pound of bud but yields 50 pounds of wasted biomass might not be so great as the one that only produced a pound of bud or half a pound of bud but only 10 pounds of bio waste. So you go, okay, that's much more efficient to be growing. It's down to people to take it as deep as they want to. They can go really deep into it if they want to, or like say, as an example that highlights a watering event that took place on that day, and I can see it was one liter of water. I could have put in the pH, EC, ppm, and any extras that were added, for instance. Anyway. Yeah, and at the moment, I'm actually in the process of rewriting it to a new look. And this is dynamic. This actually updates on the fly constantly. So as soon as new data comes in, the dials start to shift and move around. So you can just leave this up as like a dashboard for your grow space and just keep an eye on things all the time. And the charts are a bit slicker, a bit quicker, and you can, it's pretty quick and responsive. What's that? 31 days, I think. I know the hack. I wrote it. So that's how many months of data is that? That's nearly 3 months of data with a break in the middle there. But it does mean you can just go in and have a look at it at any point and see what was going on. Yeah. Building it out to shareholder. And there's some deeper dive analytics stuff.
Good advice.
Yes. Well, I am working on, there is a platform called the Oracle, and here, this is free for people to play around with. Actually, I put this out there. There's some handy little tools on this one under the useful tools section. Actually, we have like a VPD calculator, so you can put in what your temperature and humidity is, and it'll tell you what the VPD is. But it also allows you to like tinker around with this to figure out what do you need to have this set at to get the optimal VPD that you're looking for. So you can figure out what adjustments you need to make, and you can either do it in Fahrenheit or in Celsius to get it calculated. The nutrient mix one is if you're trying to, you've bought a bottle of nutrients, it comes from the UK and it's giving you milliliters per gallon, but it's UK gallons, not US gallons, and it's telling you to 25, 5 milliliters per UK gallon, and you want to know what's that if I need to put it into 30 US gallons. This would tell you what you would need to do. So if it was like 25 mils per UK gallon and I was going to put it into 30 US gallons, I'd need to put 625 milliliters of the nutrient into 30 US gallons. If the ratio that they were saying to mix it at was 25 mils per UK gallon. So, and then again, if it was like, if I was doing it into 30 liters, it's 160. So it allows you, some of these conversions can be quite tricky to work out, especially if you don't have, I've got 13.5 liters. I mean, it's a random number. Yeah, there's nothing on a chart that'll give you that exact value that you're looking for. So I put this in to help for that. And the BTU calculator, so you take total wattage in your space, lights, fans, everything. All the watts that are in your grow room are producing heat in that space, every single one. So you add up all the wattage for your grow space. Let's say it comes to 2,000 watts. Minimum BTU for your aircon, it needs to be rated at least 7,222 BTU. If you want to be able to reduce the temperature beyond ambient temperature. And if you've got a AC unit that's rated for 6,000 BTUs, you can put 1,624 watts into the space and it'll handle it. There we go. So the little things, if you're trying to set up a grow space for doing some calculations, can be quite helpful. But for the Operation Grow But here we have the forecasting. And this is actually taking observed historical data along with observed historical weather data, learning what the relationship and the pattern between those two is, and then being fed just the forecast weather data and predicting where the environment in the grow room will be according to external weather conditions. And it's creepily accurate. The orange line.
I was just gonna ask there if you could go back if that orange line was the amount of time Chris Mertz spent looking for sexual robots in his grow room versus normal tasks.
So yeah, the orange line on this one, that's like the forecasted value, and then you've got the actual. And I mean, the forecasted it's doing the average. It has a confidence band, and if you actually look at the confidence band, all of these readings will fall within inside its confidence band. But what's handy about this is if there's a heat wave coming up, it will be able to tell you, will your environment handle the heat wave? You know, it knows how your environment's going to react to what's coming up. And you could start to see, oh, hang on, I need to get some fans in. I need to increase some stuff because it's showing me over the course of the week-long heat wave, my temperatures are going to rise beyond what I can actually control at the moment. So I can take some evasive action. Starting to build that in with people cataloging when they get powdery mildew, when they get spider mites or aphids or all these other things, it will start to learn the precursor activity to what leads to a powdery mildew taking hold and start to warn you 2 weeks out that if you don't change things, your risk of powdery mildew is getting higher and higher and higher and higher until such point as like it's almost guaranteed that you're going to get it. So you can use it again to steer yourself away from those sort of situations.
You need to incorporate this into like a shipping container grow. You know what I mean? Just as something that takes care of itself, all ran by this system where it turns on and off those fans, air conditioning, controls it all from this brain. You know what I mean?
Funny you mentioned that. It's not out in production yet, but yes, there is actually a controller unit. We've got about 4 or 5 people trialing them. There is actually a controller unit that this all links into as well. So you can just use it for monitoring, but then you can actually tell the controller unit to listen to the monitoring. Well, it doesn't listen to it. The backend servers take the data from the sensors. Based on the parameters you've set, it then tells the controller, you need to switch this on, switch that off, blah, 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 and it works it that way. And you can set your lighting schedules and tell it when to cut over from one to the next. You can tell it, turn the humidifier on when it gets below 50%, turn it off when it gets to 65, turn the dehumidifier on when it's at 75% humidity, but turn it off at 60. And so you can then really start to dial it in and control that environment. Tell it that I want to keep it the VPD at 1 or 10. Track the temperature and just keep the humidity in check. So what it does is as the temperature fluctuates, it raises and lowers the humidity to keep the VPD constant. So when the lights go off in the temperature tanks, the dehumidifiers kick in and pull the humidity down. And then when the lights come on and the temperature goes up, the humidifiers kick in and raise the humidity back up again. And if you can keep VPD at 1 or 10 throughout lights on, lights off, perfect. It's a relationship of temperature and humidity. So as the temperature come down, the humidity's got to come down with it. Just because it's cooler doesn't mean it's a different VPD. The VPD, I can give you a VPD of 10 degrees Celsius. You know, it doesn't really matter. It's what's the humidity to go with it.
I can understand the importance of running it like that, but man, it always, if I could turn it over to an automation system, maybe I would run by that chart. But seeing how it's me, and I like to do shit, and I'm forgetful because I smoke weed. I don't run by that chart myself, but the people that do run by that chart, man, swear by that chart. Again, maybe someday with a good system, I'd welcome the chart, but not while it's up to me.
Yeah, I think it does trip people up in terms of like the VPD side of thing, and it's just a guidance and it's understanding what it's doing. It's allowing, so in simple terms, I mean, I don't teaching you to suck eggs or not, but so the stomata on the leaf need to open and close. As they open, you increase gaseous exchange. Now, this allows you, when the plant's transpiring, it's how much to the humidity inside the stomata is 100%. Depending on what the humidity outside is will depend on how fast it's transpiring, because it's trying to reach equilibrium. So it's trying to transpire. But the catch is if it's too dry here, it's transpiring too quickly, the plant thinks it's going to dehydrate. So it shuts down the stomata to slow down transpiration. Also, all this vapor is leaving at such a high pace, they're under high pressure, that there's very little chance of other fresh air coming back in. So you're not getting the gas exchange taking place. You're not getting the CO2 coming back into the stomata. So what you're doing by keeping the VPD at that 1 or 10 for this particular plant, it's making sure that the stomata are being held open at their optimal. It's not transpiring too fast. It's not too slow. It's just right. It's the porridge that is just right, keeping it in that sweet spot. So it's getting maximum gaseous exchange taking place. It's not under any stress. And it doesn't have to be high humidity, but it's just as the temperature goes up, what you've got to understand is relative humidity comes down as temperature goes up. So you just need to keep as your temperature rises, you need to keep raising the relative humidity with it, so that you don't create this too big a potential difference, and therefore the plant starts to shut down again. If there's not enough of a difference, it doesn't transpire enough, and of course you get that same problem because it's not transpiring enough. It's not creating that gaseous flow to do the exchange, and so the plants slow down again. And that's why in that sweet spot. So if you do CO2 enrichment, you go, oh yeah, I can run it hotter. Yeah, but you got to crank your humidity up, because otherwise it's just this tiny little hole that you're just trying to shove as much CO2 through as possible, as opposed to a nice big open stomata that you can really easily get all that CO2 through. Yeah. And in fact, a lot of the guys, I think, running high temperatures and CO2 would be getting better yields if they dropped their temperatures, raised their humidity throughout the CO2, and just followed a proper VPD regime. They'd have a much better success rate. Cost them a lot less as well. It really costs you a hell of a lot less.
Thank you for explaining it as well as you did.
It's a very, very high level explanation, but that's essentially what it is. And you're just trying to keep that gaseous exchange working at the optimal. Yeah. And it's what the fruit growers have been doing. It's nothing new. It's maybe new for people in our industry to be picking up on it, but commercial fruit growing and greenhouse growing, they've been doing VPD because you can control it. There's no point in trying to track VPD outdoors. You can't control it. It is what it is. But indoors you can control it, and that's where it gets different. Same as running hotter temperatures at night than you do during the day is another interesting one. Keeps the plants a bit squatter.
Yeah. How does that work? How's high
I
temperatures at
forget
night
what
keep the plant squatting?
it's actually got a specific name doing that process. I don't think it's just to do with the chemical reaction. It increases yields as well. But the problem you have, what people face is at night, all that extra temperature, mugginess, humidity. You've got to keep the humidity in check. You've got to be careful because at night, it is a little bit more muggy. Yeah. I'll find out what it was called again, the actual technique. I just forget off the top of my head. But it's a standard practice that they do.
No worries. It's like 4:20 in the morning here almost. Don't beat yourself up about it. We're just talking.
It's almost 9:20 over here.
Just getting started. Just getting started over there. I'm warming you up for the day, man.
Exactly. Oh, they're always. I mean, that is really the nice thing, and I'll say it's for the whole community, and Raptor and Cascadian and GMF, and everybody in chat and whatnot across all the channels. It's always. As I was making the point, the big difference between these and if they were drinking sessions is you can't dive in on the tail end of a drinking session and try and join in the conversation. It just doesn't happen, man. It's impossible. You've got to be at that same kind of drunk. But at the end, it does often make for a really good start to the day. Is jumping in on having a kind of stoner conversation, get the day started. I always start my meetings having just finished one of these, so my mind is like in a different place. So, what's everybody smoking on? Sorry, what's everybody thinking about for this this next conference call?
So, I guess that brings up a good question right there. Are you a closet, kind of? Is it a night and day type thing? Do they know about Operation Grow at work?
No, they don't know about Operation Grow, but they do know I smoke weed. I don't know if I can mince my words on that one. 47, please get over yourself. It's not like we're living in the 50s anymore. The general consensus in the population is that it should be legalized. I think, I think that is now the overwhelming common consensus, is that it's a bullshit law. And so, so long as and that's the other thing is it's easier to function stoned. I mean, especially in a coding job, and I do a lot of programming and coding, and actually I find it really helpful. I can just focus on this for the next 8 hours and not think about anything else. It's really handy for that. Which again, you couldn't do if you were boozing.
Well, probably not, but I guess period, it's all period, I guess. Period. I mean, at one point, wasn't beer pretty much coffee around the world? I mean, that's the way a lot of people started their day at one point, much like we do today.
Yeah, exactly.
They thought it was perfectly acceptable, much like we do today.
But it was really low alcohol beer, though. It was only like 1 or 2% alcohol beer, and that's because if you didn't want to ruin your day by drinking tap water, you drank a beer in the morning. Because the tap water is what, if you suddenly wanted the world falling out your bum about half an hour later. Going for a cleanse, all right. Have a glass of that. It'll rip right through you.
All right, you get a point for that one, I guess. Nobody wants to shit themselves every time they smoke cannabis. Although I tested a strain for Cane Queen Genetics, and she was telling me, I don't know, American One was telling me where she heard it from, but it was basically, I think she heard that part of the lineage of that strain is rumored to have powers that make you defecate yourself, basically.
Right.
Like, really? She's like, maybe I should be all mad at me. I'm telling this story. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, really. And I'm like, really?
Because if you think smoking weed might be considered unpopular in a crowded space, I tell you what, shitting your load unexpectedly is going to be a lot less acceptable.
I didn't believe it until I actually was listening to that book today, and they were discussing at one point hemp concoction being used as, something that made you defecate like that, for bowel movement. I'm like, maybe there is some just to that. I hope not, and I guess I'll test that strain at home.
Yeah, not in the car. It's the strain that says, all right, how far away are you from home? I'll race you. and you know you're not going to win. Get to the door, and it'll be like, oh shit, like that scene from what's it, Bridesmaids? Have you seen that one where they're at the bridal shop after the Greek restaurant? Oh, that's classic. Oh.
Oh, that could go. That could be a movie in like any scene. That could be like, honey, which jar did you grab? As they're headed on the family road trip. Oh no!
Yeah. That's kind of the no. I haven't seen the acid, and I haven't seen the acid. But have you guys seen the dragons in the kitchen?
Yeah, that would be pretty good. I wish I could find some and maybe see some dragons in the kitchen. I'd rather see dragons in the kitchen than shit myself.
Yeah,
That's
true.
a trade.
It's a trade I'm willing to make. Dragons for 8 hours or shit myself. I'll take dragons, thank you. But let's be clear, they're real dragons, or we might have to back up on this. Let's be more specific.
Yeah, I think both could probably be just as exhausting. Either way, I'm hoping that isn't the case. It's supposed to be really heady though. I'm looking
Nice. See, Dank Brownies has yeah, I see a few people in the chat see that scene out of the Bridesmaids. Yeah, that has me in stitches, man. It's still one of the funniest movie scenes I've seen in a long time.
that Dank Brownies, that line right there. That's don't fucking look at me.
I just love it when she's crossing the road. It's like, no. You just see her getting lower and lower. See, I was still like, okay, let's play this scene. How do you get out of this situation? That's what I want to see. It's that's where the real comedy kicks in. Like, all right, yeah, you're gonna have to stand up at some point.
That'd be a walk of shame right there.
Oh dear. I see that saying it's 4:20 somewhere. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to. Yeah.
So today a normal work day?
Mhm.
Yeah. No, today off. I think you said.
Yeah. It's Saturday. Yeah, I gotta go and get some shit done. Yeah, I must say, like this whole working from home thing, I've been doing it for a decade, so it's fine. It's nice. I'm enjoying it. I think it's.
Well, I'd like to tell you before we have to wrap it up that you got to keep the Zoom numbers. That invitation. Please tuck that away. Tuck that away. In case
I will do.
the one of the mornings when we're up in the rabbit hole, you actually have to do this. This is like the pre. I don't know if I'm like screening them.
No, I know what you mean.
But you have to do this before you can jump in the rabbit hole, and the numbers are always the same.
Yeah.
So anytime that you see us popping on, talking sense or nonsense, it works both ways.
No,
You're
cool.
free to pop in and tell us we're stupid or join in that fun.
I mean, I see there's a couple of other Brits on there as well. I think at least one other I see. G13 from the side of the pond.
Hell yeah, there's a lot of them. There's G13, there's the GMO, there's Minty, there's the Grow Room community videos that hang out, which is, two of the above in there, though. But I think it's cool that we're able to kind of be bridging the gap in the cannabis world.
That's certainly been one of the upsides of this whole thing is, everybody, this kind of communication, because quite frankly, I said it before, is this is as close as I can get to my neighbor right now. So what difference does it make if you're sitting on the other side of the world? It's irrelevant. At least I can pick the people I want to mix with. You don't have to pretend to be something else. You get a little bit tired having to pretend to be conservative-ish, up to a point where you're like, fuck, okay, I've done with this now. Here it comes, warts and all.
This Zoom thing has definitely been a gift to us all. I mean, the YouTube and what we had before was good, but the addition to the Zoom to the cannabis community has been huge. I think.
Yeah, it's definitely allowing for a lot of swapping of information. Now you see this, it speeds up. It suddenly, the industry accelerates really quickly because of the sharing of information. It's not just a couple of guys who know about it all of a sudden. Everybody knows about it all of a sudden. But at the same time, lots of misinformation gets spread really fucking quickly, and that's also the downside. The great thing about the internet is it gives everybody a voice. The downside about the internet is it gives everybody a fucking voice. Some people shouldn't be allowed it. Well, if they could, but just over there somewhere, your own little echo chamber, go play.
I think that becomes apparent though in a short time.
Hmm.
What's good and what's not. I mean, it doesn't take long for it to weed itself out, in my opinion. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention was I need to get that soundbite. If you'd be so gracious to throw me a soundbite.
A soundbite?
Don't know what the soundbite is?
No, I don't know what the soundbite is.
The soundbite is like, we have like, it's pretty much like a radio commercial. Sometimes you'd get the artist on there, and hey, this is fucking who and such, and I'm on 105.5.
Okay, I get you.
That's pretty much what I'm looking
the
for.
plug.
Hey, this is Pete from Operation Grow, and I'm on fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 208. Something to that effect. I'm not wording it. It's your words, not mine.
I get this.
It's just an example.
Raptor saying noob shame. Oh well. Well, I'm Peter from P&L Grow Systems and Operation Grow. This has been fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 208. It's been an absolute pleasure. You can catch me on the Operation Grow show Saturdays at 9 UK time, 5 p.m. Nope, 4 p.m. New York, 2 p.m. Denver, 1 p.m. LA, and 7:30 a.m. in the morning in Australia on Sundays. Also, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to this show, Embracing Organics, the Operation Grow. And yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure. And you can follow me at PL Grow Systems and at Operation Grow 2019. Hey, Faith for Radio.
That was a good one. I would have never got out. I'm telling you what, I am horrible with time zones. I don't know how many in my own country scheduling fuck ups I've done. It's like it's terrible. I would have never got all that right. By the way, that stagger.
I've had to regurgitate it so many times. I kind of know it now. But I have found myself from the days of working in finance, you do have to check, okay, yeah, US time, where, which side? Because there's a difference here. New York, no, LA. Okay, thank God you told me, because that's a 3-hour difference.
I wouldn't have even guessed, to be honest with you. Genetic Memory Farms hit me up like 2 days ago. He's like, you realize he's not like here, right? You may want to get with him. And like, luckily you beat me to the punch, but he's like, you might want to like plan this out a little bit better. He's got to get up early, make an effort, and I still fuck it
up. That's all right. You were being tortured. That's fine. That's all good. No, it's been great. It's been a really nice chat. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
My pleasure. Thank you for being so gracious not to just tell me to piss off and not answer my DMs.
Well, I was awake. And yeah, the invitation's open as well. You're more than welcome to jump onto the Operation Grow shows and those when we do them. We like the Saturday ones. We try to keep them to like about an hour or so, and then we do the occasional one that will run for longer. And we're just thinking of, as you well know, all of this stuff costs money to run at the end of the day. And I was thinking of just trying to make like an after show for the patrons, where if you're a patron subscriber, there's an after show for like another hour or so, which isn't going out live, and you can jump on and talk to the panelists, ask questions, and yeah, it doesn't go out live, so it's say whatever you want kind of thing. Just doing that way, trying to engage a little bit more with the community. Yeah, because some people are shy when it comes to they want to ask stuff, they want to engage, but they don't want to do it in a public forum. So okay, cool.
I think that's really cool.
In about 12 hours. Looking at the time, actually, in 12 hours time.
I'll have to catch it. Well,
Excellent.
Thank you. I do appreciate you very much for being so good-hearted, not just. I'm seriously not telling me to just piss off on this because I did fumble terribly tonight. But I do greatly appreciate you and your time. I know that didn't show in the beginning. But I do sincerely appreciate your time and all the great information you've dished out here tonight. Getting to know you. Moreover, it's been a pleasure to get to know you.
Yeah, and same here. I mean, it's strange because one of these things where we get to watch. It's one of those scenarios where you get to watch these people all the time. We kind of know you better than you know us. And so yeah. And by the way, GMF just mentioned something interesting there. Sorry to interrupt you, but we'll be opening up the Malawi cob that GMF's been making on the show today. So if you want to see how that's progressing, and if it's ready to have a little sample, we might get some feedback from GMF what it's like as well. We'll see.
Nice.
So yeah, tune in for that. And one last time, that's 9 p.m. UK, 4 p.m. New York, 2 p.m. Denver, 1 p.m. LA, 7:30 a.m. somewhere in Australia on Sunday morning, wherever Aussie is. I don't quite know where in Australia is, but wherever Aussie is, that's where it is.
Still would have fucked it up. I just want to point out too that this is an official crossover episode. I didn't realize that, but yeah, this is official crossover there.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, I think if everybody who follows Operation Grow show, subscribes to this channel, everybody from this channel subscribes to the other one, and so forth, and we do it, then the whole little community supports itself, and you don't have to get notified. You just subscribe. It's it's fine.
I've been trying to put out a plea into the community is like to try to work together and try to be mindful of each other's content so we can flow instead of I've seen multiple shows where we're like on simultaneously. I think I really believe it's unfair to make the community go, shit, I want to watch that one, but this is to where
and if you get the right ones, almost like mindful. Yeah, like they do with the Comedy Network kind of stuff as well, where almost one show can schedule into the next, where, if people want to carry on watching, like mine finishes at a certain time because it's UK. By the time mine finishes, it's kind of right about the time when some of the US ones start. So it's like just hand over straight from one into the other. It's like, okay, everybody, go over to that show, and everybody sort of wanders over to the next one.
It needs to happen. It really does. So we can respect our community a little bit more. That's what I'm thinking.
Get a little bit more organized.
I just keep finding ways to suck you back in. I just better let you go.
It's okay. No, that's absolutely fine, man. Absolutely fine.
Definitely fun. It's definitely been a fun night. I gotta wash this leg though. I mean, it is.
Yeah, you need to take care of that. Ooh.
I still got another 20 minutes of shout outs.
Oh, well, fair enough then. I shall let you get on with that. Thanks once again. I'll keep the number. But yeah, be in contact on Instagram or whatever. So more than welcome to jump onto our shows as well. It's absolutely perfect.
Fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Great. And everybody in chat, have a great day. If you're already up, fantastic. Otherwise, get a good few hours kip, and we'll see you later. Cheers.
Have a great day. I'll see you later. Pete from Operation Grow. I genuinely like that guy. I have no problems on saying that on air. I genuinely like that guy. Seemed like a great guy. With that being said, it was a great episode. Thanks to you tonight, Memory Farms. Thank you. I do greatly appreciate it, brother. That's two guests you've helped me nail down. Two more nights you've helped me make this show be possible. Just as he said, just as I hopefully that is Chiba Man. Yep. Please give Pete a follow. Hopefully you're watching Operation Grow. I did like you, man. That's a great dude. I'm so glad that that happened. We were able to make this happen. Yeah, try to get my music going right quick. Holy cow, I just realized there's still 63 watching. That's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Come on, come on. Oh, show songs. It's been a good episode, so I can't fuck this up. I gotta stay on now. I gotta stay on the uncopywritten side. So, let's see what we can find. Gonna have to roll with the brass skids, I guess. Little tool covers. Little tool covers. Okay. Start from the beginning. Seldom seen. John Smith, Oak Park Gardens. Take these out. I don't need these anymore. Oh, still not hooked up. Sorry, guys. I thought I paired with something else that wasn't my speaker. There it is. All right, now we can roll. Gotta have music. No rabbit hole. It's 420, guys. Jeez. Seldom seen. John Smith, Oak Park Gardens, Hell, 9782. Skunky Packs, Martial Artist, 2012. Micro Slave, Hefner. Robert Mr. Greenfingers Thomas. Daniel McDizzle, Medically Fit, Lemon Hoto, KGB, Rancho Coso Plenty, Monkey Balls, Indra Camplin, Bobby Lynn Means, Mr. Mark, Mr. Mac, that's what it is, Bill Sid, Trench Digger, Weed Piece, Tonya Like Blona, Tater Delicious, Minty, Harn Heron, Fire Genetics, Earth Creeper, Big Ray 420, Tommy Trichomes, Titty 101, Boca King Raz, Pop Little, Slow Roll, Spiky Pilots, Matt Steelbread, Indo 11, Stephanie V, Shark Pulley 989, Von Braun, Sovereign Gardens, Stoner Nations 420, Painted Lady, Frank Booth, Fuel House Farms, Jay Myers, Jamid DeChat, Mr. Randy D, Bag Seeds, Dr. DGC, Jeff Shredder 911, Dutch Scrolls 420, Scallywag 420, Abolish Farms and Mrs. C, Skillbo 1, Men Grower 1, Empire Breeding Co. for Growley, Lostly, Pedro, Liam Mass, Danny Danko, Breeder Steve, B Bear 7, Allie Noble, CK, Tom Trinidad, Jamid, Looney Juster, Smoking in the Small Town, Tim S., Mr. Lazy, White Feather Grows, Rafter Grows, Automation is Freedom, Rob and Robert Hazelton, Warren Miskun Quarry, Double Tap, Bob Grows, Mr. Green Thumb 420, 808 Rooting Prospects, Cannon Bus Driver, Hating Life, Kenny 710, Operation Grows was on tonight, T-Ben, TM 420, 696, Rude Nuts, Dr. Scrambles, BB Moonrocks, G Ace F, Double J, Stealth Grower 56, Bio Greens, Hanky Stanky, 420 OG KP. Georgia Groves, Ganja Nana, Yo Mama, Roy Rodriguez, Jim Seagulls, Nature's Best Nugs, GR420 or GR420 Community Videos, The Lone Stoner, B Growing, Killer B Grows, Roy Rodriguez, Ganja Wizard, Husky Gardens, Nut Tree 420, Dr. Ooh, Soil Life, Bully Life, Jeffro 420, Dr. Franklin Booty, Beavis 698, Goddamn I'm Baked, The Riffin' Fat Boy, Ted Nugent's Test, Jack Greenstock 420, Boom Farms, Smiley's Gardens, Charlie Farm 420, Aldridge 25, JD's, Misty's Nugs, Smoke and Grow Frazier, Grow Koski, Twisted Roots, Faded Farmer 420, Jeff Dorowski, Genetic Memory Farms, Evolve 420, Cameron, Bagseed, Jill Carter, Mystic Marks, Mystic Grower, Ginger Snaps, I Kill, DT, TW, E Grows A, Rick Wolf, DLP 2372, Sergeant Pepper, Ned Denver, Cannon Trooper, Sequence 3, Blind Cat 420, Light Up Again Tim's, UKSIF 420, Buddha Boy, Devin Shipwreck, CJ Apple, Medically MJ, Budsville, USA, Resurrection Prophet, Chris Martinez, Tara Wilson, Dateman Dan, Dateman 420, Red Center Farms, Good Life, Bill Sid, Joni Bell, Chicha B, Most Hated Grower, the Major General 420 Army, the American One, W Digger 714, Shirate, Kineos Genetics, Mountain Skies, ready to hit that hot fire, Chris Mertz, even. I don't know what happened to my music. Shadow Warrior, Green Valley 514, Million Jensen, Os Indica, Dr. MJ, Coco, Brandon Ross, Matthew Gates, D's Nuts, Drone Star, Shotgun Willie, Jank Yoda, Jay Simmons, Sure Bro Grows, Clackamas Coot, DJ Conley, Mission Grown Buds Farms, Aaron the Grower, Your Boy Roy Boy, Delta 9, Clackamas Coot, Clackamas 420, Jay McDaniel, Stinky Cola, Dylan Steinford, PFC Farms, Krusty Socks, Mr. Hanky, Sun Grown 707, C8 Drones, J420, Joey Y, Cascadian Grows, Tito McGee, 4 Plants, A Weedworks, Captain's Grog, Skunk E Buds, Hans Warrior, Jackie Young, Terry Lee Live, McGaster Tempe, Annie N, Dank Brownies, D Urge, Green Jr., Leon from All Purpose Plus, Green Goose, 11 Smiles, 11 Bindu Buds, Michael Rasa Grows, D's House of Dank, Scarecrow 420, Joey Y again, Green Thumb Bum, Christina MG89, and Unplugged 705, Medically McCullough, Rick T the Rebel, the 9207, Baby and Salanius, Dave's Not Here, Time Spook, Gray Walker, Mendo Dope, T-Dog, Dunbeetle, Red Eye Jedi Grows, Mother Nature, Justin Conway, Jabriz Aldi, Run Boy 7426, Justin Goodearth, Strongman, Okie Grower 2715, Corey Trevor, Michael Wallace, Molvich 420, Greg Walker, Jabiz Aldi again, Who's Your Cat Daddy, Taco, Don Slug, Rick S, In the Bushes 827, James Seaman, Bobby Lynn Meads again, Kevin Hahn, The World's Last Hope, Pete's Fan 420, Bio Minter, Dirt Road Dude, Kanashiva, Jose Ramirez, Red Eye Rustler, Dab Goblin, Dr. Buzz Lightyear, Acetone 710, Canuck, Canna Queen, Genetics, Stabby, Tanazi, Fudor, Dirtman Dan, Keep the Black Sails, Mr. Bosilas, Zen Premium Gardens, Rasta Jeff, Rasta Bob, Spiky Pilots, Majestic Marks again, Soil Pilots, Small Tubes, Tyler Teasley, North Michigan Micro, Ouija Buds, Stud T. Roy, Big Jar Grows, JC, John, Modern Genetics, Last PPJ, SoCal Weed Nerds, Lexi, Brittany, Courtney, My Baby Girls, Green County Grower, CJ Apple, Perfectly Imperfected, Dollar Tree Grower, T1 Productions, Saint Grower, DOA Grown Meds, Miss Nudity Grower, I Gruesome, Johnny Candy Suit, Nutrients, Shootouts, Naughty Nicky, Zoe and Slammer, NNY, Pixel Monkeys, St. Bernard's Observation Booth, High Spy, Aldridge 25, Madam T, Stu Moo, Mo Grower, The Candy Crate, Loki Grow, Seth This Time, 79, Burton, Polish Hammer, Midwest Outlaws, Voodoo Ultras, Fresno Words, Fresno Nerds, that is Wolverine Grower, Big Jar Grows, Lay Way Back Farmer, Jimmy One for Life, D Block, MMP Nations Creations, Witchy Weekends with Amber Lalana, The Psychedelic Warlock, The Artist LD, Sir Sticky, Rob, Big Dave 420, Brent Window, Big Dave, or Big Ed. Big Dave, who the hell is Big Dave? Big Ed, Manawati, G3, Green Click, JK Triple G, Mr. Sprinkler, Brittany Teasley, Hope Barnes, woo, Lisa D, John, Beat You Crazy for You, BGWG420, Dr. Budsville, USA, Purple Thumb OG, and Thorough Sons of Media, Doc, Miss D's Nugs. I can't believe I almost fucked that up. Justin Face 420, Beast Coast Grower 420, Sir Howell, Trey Valone, Keep It Real, Danner 1620, Haggerton 420, Zeb Zeppelin, Audit Everywhere, BT Double D, Grows, Vegas, Green Puffin Man, Alex Boykachev, Chef Life, School of Crop, Cause I Love It, Green Mountain Grower, Southwest Okie, Reels 100, 212, Andy Man, Miranda Family Farms, Page Farms, Meat All Flour, Ryan Henderson, Light 1978, G13, No Sailbot Wins, Kingdom Alcoponics, Indra, Michigan Native, Mary Jane's Med Gardens, Dreamer 77, Double D, Bad Bunny Nutrients, Green Pots, Mr. Green Nugs from 619 to 664, Spaniard Krugers, Jones and Grow, Papa G Grows, Raz Amy Dro Grows, Cess, the Grow From Your Heart podcast with Ross and Jeff, Lily Luna, Green Med Flock, Jeremiah Miranda, Sony Creek, Lost Art, Mr. No One, Jones and Grow, Smith Dude, LG 420, Giant Mike, Prometheus, Soil, Jason Istone, P Win, David Colby, and last but not least, whew, Regis 207. This is the end of your journey. Please do something nice for your somebody. Oh, I fucked that up. Oh, jeez. This is the end of your journey. Please get some rest. This is the beginning of your day. Please do something prosperous. And please, please do something nice for somebody. Random acts of kindness do save lives. I'm a living, breathing example of that. Oh, I got to go and wash this leg. I am in pain.